So I'm always gonna have uh, some concern that like the things worth talking about are gonna happen tomorrow, but when some stuff
Mm-hmm.
worth talking about happens on the day, it's still good. You're like, at least we're getting some of what matters here, you know?
Yeah. At least
Um,
we're getting like uh the start of the situation before they roll it back, so then we get to have two stories for the price of one.
but
Like when somebody says something really stupid or has a quote that sounds impossibly horrifically dumb, and then it
mhm.
hits the news cycle, and then they go, "Oh, that looks bad, huh?" And then they do another interview next week where they accidentally say the same exact fucking thing with nicer
Mhm.
language.
Yeah, I think I'm developing some probably unlabeled new kind of like there's like a fear of like talking a fear of of shit always happening tomorrow. Nothing happens today.
Yeah.
When it's like, so if this was like whatever day it is, if this is Thursday, then it's like, oh, Friday, did you fucking god damn it, you know it's there's a thing inside me that's stirring, that is just like a
Yeah,
perpetual
no, it's the instant the
fear of
podcast
tomorrow's announcement.
ends. The instant the podcast ends and you're like, computering up the digits and the bytes, like, but and that period before that and after the upload until you wake up the next day, there's like, oh, there's some shit happening right now. Something's happening.
Yeah, feels bad, but if not for the fact that it were it's a known quantifiable metric that we've had over the years, everyone knows to expect it, and it's like, what the fuck are you gonna do? But it
Which is
doesn't
weird because we
change.
have the podcast on Mondays, right? And Monday is like start of business day.
Start
So
of
you'd
business.
assume everyone would get their news out on start of business day, but apparently they do it on Tuesday morning so that they miss all the Monday podcasts, and then the bad news is delayed by a week.
Well, I've put this out before, but my hypothesis is based on having some time in the office culture, that like
Mhm.
Monday is when everybody talks about how the news will be revealed. You finalize all details, you do all the board meetings, and you
Oh.
go, all right, tomorrow first thing we're hitting it, But
Oh yeah,
Monday is the reconvene and put the plan together day. So
it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great, guys. This new news, it's gonna be great. There's no way anyone could be mad at it. It's gonna be super. Everyone's gonna love it.
all right.
Followed by the next day. All right, we're gonna have a meeting on how to deal with the fallout of yesterday's announcement.
Um, yeah. So I had a week with some stuff.
Hmm.
Did you?
I did.
Okay. Well, I'll go into some of my stuff because it's on the brain.
Do it.
Um, yeah. So out of left field, but there's a great documentary I watched, and this is something that it's won awards, so it seems like a lot of people already know about this. I don't think I'm
You
bringing
know
it.
it's good if it's won an award.
I don't think I'm bringing this to like a whole lot of people that might not already know about it. But it's called The Act of Killing.
I
Um,
think I've heard of that.
yeah, it's from I think 2012, and it's phenomenal. So what this is the backstory is that it's essentially, there's a documentarian, Joshua Oppenheimer, is it's the act of killing. He is doing a story about the Indonesian genocide, right? So this was something that took place, yeah, like back in the 70s, and essentially, the short version of this is that um, there was a communist plot to take over the country. There was a coup d'état, and it
Hmm.
failed.
Hmm.
And then after it failed, um, the retaliation was so extreme that it led to what they estimate to be about 1 million people were just culled, right?
Cool.
Super duper dark and like just insanely heavy stuff. So this is a story though where the main thing that makes this like tragedy really different from a lot of others throughout history is that the people who won that went on to continue like ruling the country and leading, and there
Right.
was no moment of like addressing what happened. There was no
It was just
talking.
like, well, we're done with that.
Yeah, right. And
Moving on.
so moving on, and then it fast forwarded to modern day where like they're just like the whole culture just, it seems, at least according to what was presented here, just kind of like, you know, accepted that this was a thing that happened and the good guys did a whole lot of murder and we just accept that and that's it, right? We don't talk, we don't really think too hard about it, but it's a thing. And you know, so the documentarian went to go talk to the survivors and he wanted to tell their stories about what happened. The government stepped in and said, stop doing this, you can't film this, right? And
Which is what a documentarian loves to hear.
mm-hmm.
Oh, tell me the list of people I'm definitely not supposed to talk to. I'm going to
Right.
make sure to not talk to those people. And this is their addresses, so I make sure not to go there?
Yeah.
And not ask them about what?
So,
Got it.
So it's even more fascinating because like partway through, you know, recording and talking to these people and getting their stories about, you know, just what happened, and the victims were far from just communist. Like there was a point where it was just, if you were ethnically Chinese, if you were even remotely just affiliated, if you were someone that, you know, if they just kind of looked at you the wrong way, you could be carted off to be interrogated and just like offed completely, like cult, you know, livestock level killing. And so they said, yeah, stop filming this. You can't do this. And they're like, okay. Then one of the survivors was basically talking to them, and they're like, look, if you can't get the story from us, then go to the perpetrators and ask them about it. Go to the people who did the genocide and see what they have to say, right? If you can tell this story, please do, because, you know, like, it doesn't seem like it's going to happen from here. So the filmmaker then went to meet with officials and people in town and like war heroes and the celebrated.
I'm gonna use the big old air quotes on the war heroes.
Of course. That's yeah. This is all within that context, exactly, right? And right away when he asked about what happened, not only were they like, oh yeah, I totally killed like 50 people up here, we took them up here, they were like, you want to go on a tour, I'll show you where I did it. And they were boasting about where they killed people and how, and like literally the nitty-gritty details of like, oh, you want to wear these kind of pants when you're doing it, and there's too much blood, so we had to get the wires out, and like going into proud, boastful, open discussion about all the horror of what happened. No ounce of anything, right, negative to it. And basically, the dude realized that, like, yeah, the because the culture kind of moved forward and just accepted what happened, or quote unquote accepted what happened, and the people in power get to dictate that. There's no reckoning, so there's no discussion, so everything just kind of, there's no reason to be ashamed of these acts, right?
Yeah,
so,
we did it.
Yeah, and that's the perception, right? So it's this whole crazy thing where they're like super open about it, and like they're like, yeah, let's go hang out. I'll tell you everything you need to know. And like he realizes at a point that like a lot of them too were like, these are people that are like, they're paramilitaries that like came from like being like street thugs and gangsters and stuff, and there's a whole just like brute force criminal organization that more or less is now in charge, right? And
you mean the government?
Yes, exactly. That's literally it. And so what happens is he's like, they are, and these people are they're all super into Hollywood. They're into old films. They like they have like deep roots with that stuff. So they're obsessed with like the storytelling aspects of all the crimes they did. And like the documentarian goes, guys, if you want to tell me what happened and what you did, we can literally just recreate that however you want. We'll create the story. You can write whatever script. You can show me what you did. And they're like, oh, yeah, well, let's make a movie about the crimes we did. And then it just fucking goes from there. It's insane. It's so insane. And you're just watching people that are involved in this casually being like, yeah, let's get the film crew up, let's make the set, here's the screaming mother and her baby, and this is what I did. Like, just there's a disconnection, and it's some of the most fascinating fucking like human storytelling. I can't believe I missed out on when this first came out, because it like there's one person in particular that they follow, that was like the leader of an execution squad, and like his life, and he's like an old man, he's got a family, he's decorated, he's a big shot, and like the story follows him because he has a couple of moments of just like, yeah, I did what we did, I still have these horrible nightmares, but anyway, and like, and there's these little things where like this person seems to have something a little bit closer to the surface in terms of like an idea, like a possibility of like feeling for what you did, some kind of empathy, some kind of something, and so they just follow them along the process, and it's a documentary, so like there's no, I don't think there's any, it's not about spoilers here, but like there's a point they get to in like recreating all these things where like you watch him kind of confront some shit that he just never had to, and like it comes.
Oh, where he's going like, so I put them in there, and yeah, they were crying, and at some point in the realization, they realize, oh, maybe this was actually a fucked up thing to do.
So it's a very slow process throughout the movie, but I'll literally tell you exactly what it is. Is in the beginning they go up to a rooftop and they show you how they garroted people because it was a cleaner way to kill, and there was too much blood in any other way, and they show you that, and then like later on, when he's watching himself and watching what they filmed and having a bunch of these moments, and like at some point, like there's people that are involved with the production that are there that like were like, yeah, I was part of this too, had to go kill my stepdad, he was Chinese, so I just did it, but anyway, and like this crazy level of like stuff that they're confronting, and like there's a point where he goes back to the same place and is telling them about the crimes, but this time like almost like with the Jinx, like his body just starts to gurgle and like vomit, and like he's like, it's coming up, and you get to, and it's like just the weight of
the
all
buried
of that.
evil.
The buried evil
is physically expelling itself.
Comes out, and it's unbelievable. It's called The Act of Killing. It's on YouTube. It's a 2.5 hour long, I think, documentary.
That's a long genocide documentary.
There's a lot to talk about and a lot of people to follow, because this is a thing that never was addressed, and this movie was
I've literally never heard of it until you just mentioned it.
And it like, and it's like, that's the, and I mean, they killed that many people over the course of about 2 years, so you're talking about like multiple a day, and it's just, following that type of shit is it's like unlike anything I've ever seen,
as you described this, obviously this feels bad, man. Though there is a silver lining that I was able to find in my own head as we discuss this, which is this, like, the idea that like humans are, awful or fundamentally good or fundamentally bad, etc. Like that argument. It's like, well, progress has definitely been made, because our personal and most of the, I'm going to assume all of the listeners' revulsion to this kind of topic is a dramatic improvement over this attitude being the norm for the vast majority of human history.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like
That's
up until like maybe 150, 200 years ago, it was
that's
just
what
the
happens.
state of things is that when you win, you get rid of as many of them as you can.
Yeah. The comparison that the director makes is like when he walked into it, it was like discovering um, a Nazi Germany where they won and kept going to this day, um, and like the society that gets built around that, and the like wild thing, of course, in a lot of these cases of human atrocity is that like very rarely do you have the person themselves who did it just sitting right there like, oh yeah, totally, this is what I wore, this is what I did, this is how I did it, and what do you want to know, you know. um and then like as the other interesting thing is because it's like they're, you know, filming a movie and like being willing to show and essentially just like confess all the things that happened in this form, they're also like pushing to include some kind of like musical moments, musical numbers, and surreal ass scenes in there. And like because it's like these surreal, just like outside of historical narrative, like just personal driven songs and lyrics, you get to watch what's happening inside the psyche of the individual in question in terms of like where he puts that guilt and how he expresses it. And like, yeah, I just, it's fucked up. It's super fucked up. So anyway, I know that's a weird ass thing to bring to podcast, but it was a really interesting documentary that I watched and thought it was worth bringing up because yeah, if you are interested in anything like that and you want to know about it, that's really good. And then there was a complimentary movie that came out secondary afterwards where it went back to the victims and followed a family trying to find out about what happened and such. So, like, if you ever wanted to know anything about, you know, like what happened with Indonesia, I mean, this is one hell of a way to do it. And my understanding is that, like, because this documentary was so well received and like critically acclaimed, it then like changed the way the government approached the subject in the country, and like it went
You would hope.
it went from a like we're not going to talk about this except for when we boast about it and then don't think twice, to a okay, we know it was fucked up, but don't tell us how to fix our own problems, we're going to do it on our own terms kind of thing. But there was
Yes, we're not going to fix them.
there was a begrudging acceptance of sorts, you know. But anyway, that's a huge recommend. um so that was the one of the things I did. And then I also played some video games.
Before we move on, Wooly, normally I wouldn't bring this up, but oh, did you fix the audio thing?
Yeah, it seems like because I changed my because my mic was crackling the other day. I
Yeah,
switched my mic out, so I
yeah.
replaced it for a different one, and I think my mic is now quieter than it usually is.
Okay, because normally people don't complain that much about like, oh, Pat, you're so loud, which I know I'm naturally kind of
Yeah, I dropped you
boisterous.
down. I dropped you down, and I pulled mine up a bit because it's a different mic. Yeah.
All right, great, woo, I did it. I saved it, even though I didn't do anything. All right, so you played some video games.
Yes. I will
I like
adjust.
video games. They're nice and chill compared to all that.
Yeah. At the same time, though, when I was like, "Wait, what happened when? How many?" It's like it was one of the things where I was just like, "I have never even heard of that. That's fucked up."
I didn't hear about that until you just told me. That's a
Yeah.
brand new genocide for today.
Yeah, yeah, and the guy who made the film talks a bit about like why he suspects that you probably haven't heard of it, and I haven't, and a lot of us haven't. Was because at the time, the genociders were being supported by America unofficially. So there's a possibility that like, you know, it's not exactly in best interest to have people super aware of the subject, you know?
Oh, cool.
Yep. Yep. So, keep that in mind as you watch it as well. And if you're like me, you can go wiki diving into Oblivion afterwards. Anyway, so yeah, the active
Oblivion was a video game that came out with the Xbox 360.
It was. Another video game that came out with the PlayStation 1 was Bloodborne.
Yeah, how is that? I messed around with that for about 5 minutes and was like, wow.
It's glorious because it is like Bloodborne PSX is like obsessively committed to the feeling of playing your PS1 on a CRT after school, after you get off the school bus and you run home, and there's a little bit of dust on the TV and there's a little light coming from the window outside. Like, it's obsessed with capturing that.
And not just that, like, my experience was I wanted to fuck around with it for a couple minutes before deciding what to do with it. And I loaded in and I was like, oh man, these controls are so accurate to a PlayStation game without an analog stick. They're so accurate and terrible. Like moving the camera with L2 and R2 and the specific like of movement speed towards the camera and away from the camera is too fast for the camera buttons. And like, it's so crusty.
Lovingly,
exactly like these games were like before Ape Escape.
Like each flake of crust was lovingly created and placed, you know, on top of the game. Artisanal crust. The fact the moment you get up in the clinic and what sticks? You're D-padding it and your L2 and R2 to turn, and you're like, this is it. This is what we were doing before they figured out analog camera rotation, you know? The feeling of rounding a corner in Mega Man Legends, you know? And then you pause it and you get that fucking giant rotating inventory screen.
The Silent Hill inventory system.
So good. And I, like, as much as it bugged me, going back to the inventory and having that be the place where you transform your weapon, you're like, yeah, I guess.
There's no way they'd be able to do transforming weapons with the PlayStation 1's amount
it
of
would
RAM.
Absolutely be a pause and switch thing, you know, a state change from your inventory. So, but then everything else is there. You get the shotgun parries, and then you see a giant R1 button appear above the enemy's head, telling you to do the riposte. It fucking, I love it, man. I really do. And it's not just a demake that lets you like look at it and see how the feel and the visuals are demade, but like mechanically they've overhauled the design to be PlayStation 1 as well. In addition to being some fun surprises for veterans, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you run down the clinic, you know, to get out the front door of Yosefka's, and that door is fucking locked. And the beast is right there, and you're like, oh shit, you know? And right away, you've got to do some new stuff. You got to find a key, and then you realize you have to equip keys to use them on doors.
Of course you do.
You know? You got to find you don't just get to put blood bullets in your gun. You have to find the transfuser that does it. And then again, it's a manual process once you do. I mean, the whole thing just like really, really feels like it. Yeah, you don't just go into this project going, oh, let's change the visuals. You know, it's the whole design from top to bottom shifted and changed around. Some amazing stuff they've done because you respawn the enemies every time you exit an area. that otherwise would be a continuous loaded zone. You
Mhm.
don't have your normal blood vial healing. You instead have the consumable only, you know?
Mhm.
But it makes sense because like you're going to fight more things just backtracking a little bit here and there. Fighting still feels fine. You still know how to circle, and and you all your
Mhm.
everything you expect is still there. Um, and yeah, a couple of interesting just like design changes here and there, making um the music box play when you approach Viola's kids. I mean, it's just beautiful. Another fun thing too as well is like Madman's knowledge is just sitting on the ground as uh, a collectible that like you don't pick it up into the inventory and then pop it. You get it and then you gain an insight. And like
Uh-huh.
there are doors within the hunter's dream that are locked behind a certain level of insight. So there's like expanded.
I kind of thought that's how it was going to work in the regular game.
Mm, it works that way here. Just expanded ideas on some of that stuff. And I believe, yeah, I've been told that there's like new stuff as well, and some smart remixes too. Like for example, when you go through the house when you're up on the bridge near Cleric Beast.
Yeah, and there's the house that has the wheelchair guy in it.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
So that's a little shortcut house that gets you back to the central Yarnum um, um, lantern, but because this is a PlayStation that has to load that interior in,
Right.
it doesn't make as much sense to then load it out back outside. Why not just make that house more of a zone?
Oh, okay.
So it does a really smart thing by like it the area just next to the house where you got the two brick guys and then the
Yeah.
shortcut downstairs and all that shit. That's all now inside the house. You know? It's just built in because it's part of the same zone. You've loaded into a zone that is house zone. It really is pretty smart. I was like, I get what you've done here, and I agree with it. Um, then you go to the just visual settings, and my God, man, if you want to fine tune any aspect of how smooth or anti-aliased, how if you want those old jaggies, if you want it to look,
Do you want the frame rate limited to 20 like it's supposed to?
yeah, fucking put a load timer on the game that has arbitrary load times as you exit and enter areas if you want to feel load times on purpose.
Oh man.
And you can turn it off or put it on, whatever you want. You can put the rounded edges on your frame so that it looks like you're watching through a CRT. Just insane. And there's a bunch of preset options that are all like fun recreations of just playing a PlayStation under different circumstances, or even worse than a PlayStation. Like, what if you're playing it on like a little portable TV almost, super shitty quality. But then one of those options is if you want to do damage to yourself. It's the remastered option where the game just runs crisp at 60. And you get to go, fuck everything. Why are we not allowed? You can go 120. You can just unlock it and just
Yeah.
get to watch the whole thing. And it hurts.
I bet it looks really weird.
It looks great. It looks great because it's still the low poly models,
Yeah.
but it's smooth as hell, and the the models look fantastic. Like they're great. They're fantastically built. So it all fucking holds up. Yeah, it's such an incredible love letter, and I got to get through more of it. But like so far, I just did like Cleric Beast, and then I know that it goes. I know it goes like. Anyway, I know that Gascoigne's there, and then there's a bit beyond, but I don't know too much else. Though they've taken areas that were just like a quick detour down into the sewers before you come back up. No. Sewers is now a zone. You know, absolutely worth checking out, and it's free. And so far, You know, the creator hasn't been bothered to take it down with any kind of DMCA, or rather, whatever, cease and desists and stuff. So that's cool. You know, yeah, I know that the modding community for FromSoft games has been active as fuck, and we're going to talk a bit about that today. But
yes, we actually are, shockingly.
But the fan game community outright, it seems like, yeah, this is so far is in the clear as well, and that's cool. So, fucking go get Bloodborne PSX. It is super worth it. We're gonna be finishing that up probably this week on stream as well. I heard, and the description said there's 10 weapons, so I was like saving up some of my like upgrades for like, I don't know. I'm like, is a fucking Kirk hammer gonna drop any minute? Like, what are we doing here? You know? But I might just. Also, the hammer, the axe was taken away from the default lineup, so you know, it's interesting.
Yeah, I thought that was really bizarre.
Yeah, you go cane whip or cleaver. You know, that's it. Cleaver's a good weapon, so no problems there. But some interesting remixes, and like, you know, based on the idea of this being like a self-contained small thing, I guess I get some of the reasons why. You know. Anyways, that's Bloodborne PSX. Yeah, so that's going to continue on the channel. The other thing as well, so I'm in the middle of Everhood, and we're not done yet. I've gotten one, like, I'll call it like a soft ending, because it's a credit roll, but there's more to do after. But yeah, this game is fucking, like, the music is amazing. It's a whole lot of just like stylish fun, and I mean, on that merit alone, it's definitely a recommend. I think if you want to play a rhythm combat game, is what it is. It's rhythm combat. Then you definitely want to check this out. Now, the story is in the middle of doing things. Basically, I just hit a twist, and I'm gonna wait until the game is done to, like, you know, see how that shakes out. My initial impressions of the twist are like really confused, and you know, I'm hoping that it makes a whole lot of sense in the end. But yeah, like, story wise, I gotta finish seeing what they're doing with this plot to determine how I feel about it. But based on where I'm at, it definitely seems to be the kind of twist that, well, it's like, I hope I hope they can pull out of it, is the way I feel right now. My initial, I'm a little concerned, but there's yeah, but it'll make sense once you know, it's all said and done. But there's multiple endings as well, so there's a larger perspective that you can kind of, I imagine, put together of the whole thing. But I will say that, like, you know, if anything is going to be, like, so far the weaker element, I'd say it would be the story to some degree. But yeah, we're probably going to wrap that up this week, and then I don't know if we can get there. I believe there's 5 endings. I think 2 of them require New Game Plus, and the others are kind of variants of your save files. But either way, Everhood, we're going to wrap that up this week as well. And then I would love to, if we have the time, start Sifu, because damn, I've been excited for that.
Sifu looks great.
Slow Clap.
I'm also excited to mess with Sifu tomorrow.
Yeah. Slow Clap, you know, they made Absolver, which, you know, had a brief period of hotness. I was talking about it when that, for the first little bit when that came out, but it was a, like, third person martial arts online, like, online dueling game, I guess you could call it. It was very unlike anything else, but you would walk around an online environment with a bunch of other players. You'd have a move list that, you know, you would grow by watching other fights and learning from enemies that you beat. If you learn to counter a move, then you learn how to do it. A lot of really cool ideas, and in the end, I think, excuse me, I think like some of the aimlessness of wandering around, and also when you hit like a server with not enough people on it, it really slowed the progress down. You know, there was some great designs for like dojos, for example, where you connect to my dojo. I'm a Sifu. I can cheat you all a bunch of moves because I have a giant move list and you guys haven't seen them yet. So I can come and hold a class. You know, like it had all these kinds of ideas that only work if the game is really popping off, unfortunately, and it wasn't. So it got a lot harder because then you had to track down like specific NPCs to show you the moves, and but you know, but in general, the combat was tight. It was awesome. You know, you would switch between a style that was focused on parries, or a style that was focused on dodges, or a style that was more about like focus attacks. You know, absorb and then release. So it was interesting because it was almost like, do you want to go Street Fighter 3, Street Fighter 4, or KOF 98? You know. So it showed though that studio has the ability to do a fucking sweet ass combat system. So when they announced Sifu as like, we're just doing a single player game and it's gonna take all of that and build off of it, it's like, yeah, this is the move. You know, the online aspect is what was interesting, but also unfortunately what led to, I think, Absolver not really living up to its fullest potential. Whereas here, just a straight narrative can probably create the funnest example, you know.
So I'm taking a look at some gameplay footage of Sifu, which like some unedited gameplay footage of Sifu, which has not really come out prior to the game. And like what it actually is like so flat and like obvious.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mean that as a pejorative. I like it's just so blunt. And it's like, well, do you like kung fu movies and like the aesthetic of kung fu movies? Yeah. Okay. Do you like Batman combat? Yeah. Okay. What if
Mm-hmm.
you
I would
also put punch lasers from The Last of Us into your Batman combat? We
also
did it.
the aspect of the Batman combat that I would say is a bit more advanced than Batman is at least from what I saw with the initial look at Sifu, was that like you would still see the people switching stances and you would still come at them from like the right angle. Like if someone's blocking to the right, you don't want to attack to the right, you know? It gave me the impression that some of that stuff was still in there. So I think you're also going to have to like, you know, pick the right
Well, I mean, I'm looking at the controls and it's like weak attack, strong attack.
Okay. And also, if you like your cinematic action movies, in particular, do you like Old Boy, the original?
Yeah. Yeah, Old Boy good.
Yeah, because, I mean, it's been everywhere, but they're like, hey guys, we're just going to do the hallway scene. And it looks awesome, you know? So I'm very excited for that.
Remember when he hit those guys with a hammer?
And then the one guy backs up and he's yelling, but he's still backing up. Yeah.
I remember that part.
No, man. I like when a developer can like try an idea, doesn't work, okay, but like what can we salvage from this? What are the strengths of the studio? And then put them towards something that like galvanizes and accentuates those strengths. And this is exactly that. Similar to, I would say, Hellblade. You know, Senua's Sacrifice is the best of what they can do and what they're strong at. You know, so yeah.
Now I have something to say. Now I obviously haven't played Sifu, and I'm just talking about taking a look at the footage. I'm seeing some folks talk about how it doesn't have Batman combat because it has combos. I'm like, okay, that's fair, but I mean, I'm literally going off video footage in which I'm looking at a combo counter climb up in the upper right corner of the screen, and when the combo hits a certain number, you can hit triangle and circle to do a takedown that knocks the character out.
There's certainly there's enough
that seems pretty similar to me, man.
there's definitely enough similarity in the like fighting a group, one versus many, aspects that Arkham introduces, and then the other superhero games and stuff kind of do. To me, it's also like Assassin's Creed 1 combat, to some degree where you're fighting off the group. But it seems like, based on the way they've done combat and such, it's going to be more than just like hit light a bunch of times and then hit strong. Like I think there's like moves to do, for specific types of
Regardless, I'm very excited to get a hold of it.
Yeah.
Though, bummer about its release. It had one of those things where it was, hey, if you buy the deluxe edition, you get to play it like 3-4 days early. But the developers put in the date, I think, whichever one it was, they put in month, day, year instead of day, month, year.
Oh, no.
And so it's scheduled to come out for like April 2nd. Early, which means that if you got the fancy early edition that you were supposed to be able to get early, you're just not going to get it early. And because it was supposed to go live over the weekend, they couldn't get anybody at Sony to fix it.
Can we fucking just standardize this date shit already? Like, what are we doing? Didn't that lead to like a literal satellite explosion?
No. So before we continue, how do you write the date? Day, month, year, or month, day, year?
Day, month, year is like, to me, what is normal. But I know that if it's the source is America, then you gotta go for month first.
Yeah, it's tough. The real issue here is that the day, month, year obviously seems to make the most sense if you're writing it down.
Smallest to biggest.
But when you talk to people, you always say the month first. Right? And the Americans want to put month, day, year also.
Yeah. Smallest to biggest just makes sense in my brain, and that's why
the satellite explosion is similar, but not the same. It's because one of the contractors making a tiny piece for the satellite looked at the measurements and went, "This is inches clearly."
That's what it was.
Instead of centimeters.
That's what it was. Yeah.
And the piece didn't fit by, half an inch or some shit, and blew up.
Yeah. I mean, look, we've been doing this long enough that we know that like this is 100% the hill that they will die on. But if you're out there and you're like, nah, month, day, year for life, it's like, all right, you can just you can yell that forever and no one can change it and it'll stay the way it is. But can you accept deep within your heart that small to big equals makes sense, equals logical?
Yeah, sure. Here's what I
and
say.
that you're just like, I don't care about that. Nah. Just as long as we're on the same page.
If you're going to do month, day, year, you are mandated to do everything on the 13th or later day of the month.
Because then how do you know which one's coming first? Yeah.
Right. Because if you see 1804 1990, you're like, well, I don't think it's the 18th month.
No, it's not Blanuary. Certainly. Yeah.
It's not Smarch.
Yeah. Okay. I would even accept YMD, Yeah,
YMD is fine too.
I can accept that too. It's just let there be a stairway that makes clear sense in denomination. All right. Could you imagine, hey guys, what time is it? It's 8:04:02, but what that means is it's 8:02 and 04 is the seconds.
Hey,
hour, minute, and then hour, seconds, and then minutes at the end. Seconds go in the middle. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
Let me you want to get real pissed off? Have you ever looked at like how you would actually use metric time?
No.
Metric time is this thing where, you know, metric for everything else makes perfect sense, right? Why not metric time? The problem is that time is so like globally standardized, and metric time is so different in every single human being's personal perception of time that is just like violence on your brain when you try and actually think of it in that time period. Like, oh, I'll be a hectosecond. That's 1.67 minutes.
Oh fuck. Okay. Yeah. No.
I'll
Yeah.
be a kilosecond.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. Yeah.
16
Yeah. Yeah.
minutes.
Yeah. No.
Like,
Yeah. We're ruined.
it also has no appropriate measurement for hours at all, because it goes from kilo to mega, and kilo is 16 and a half minutes, and then megasecond is 11 and a half days.
There are 10 metric hours in a day. There are 100 metric minutes in a metric hour. There
Shut
are
up.
100 metric seconds in a metric minute. And 10 days in a metric week.
It can't be undone for a couple reasons. One, the average 1 second is kind of internalized by like almost every human being over the age of like 10.
Yeah,
right?
no, yeah, I'd say so.
And
Like
the
your
second
heartbeat.
is like almost all classical clock technology works on the vibration speed of quartz, which
Yeah.
is why it's 60.
No, yeah, your heartbeat is not once per second, but like you
It better not be.
but you can feel a second inside of you because we were raised that way. So anyway,
Hey, heads up to anybody out there who's a parent to a young child. Teach your kid to tell time using various types of clocks. Even in today's world, it's cringe when people look at a real clock and go, I don't know what that is. How do I do it? Real clocks are not going away anytime soon.
I saw this video of this girl that was doing these crazy advanced maths, doing these crazy multiplications and like just basically doing the mental abacus with her fingers, and it was like
cool.
It's so cool. It's crazy. Like your hand is like counting the 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you're doing it like just, and the hand gesture floating through the air gives you information. It's so cool. It was incredible.
Hey, let me ask you a question. I saw this as a goof the other day, and it really hurt me. Which would be more embarrassing to you to have a random person see? Your browser history or your calculator history?
Oh, don't look. I don't look at the most basic subtractions.
Like 17 plus 51? Really? Did I really need a calculator for that?
Oh. Damn, dude. Yo, where's calculator incognito mode? Don't worry. No one will know what you've just added and subtracted. No one will know that you forgot your brackets first.
I still remember my times tables. Most of them, anyway.
That's cool.
I remember my dad, like, sitting me down and being like, you're learning these times tables, and then he would quiz me afterwards. I'm like, this shit's stupid. I don't need to know this. Oh, wow. Yeah, I needed to know that for real. Having your basic times tables up to, like, 10 is, like, the most absolutely vital fucking math skill I ever learned in my entire life.
It keeps coming back. It keeps coming back, for sure. Anyway, and if you don't have them, then you accidentally schedule your game to release on the wrong date.
That's right.
So don't do it, folks. Anyways, so yeah, I want to check out Sifu as soon as the chance comes around. But that's more or less going to be it, you know, over on the channel. So yeah, if you want to see more of that, Bloodborne, PSX, Everhood, not Active Killing, that will not be on Wooly Versus. That despite being grouped together there. No, you can watch that on your own time and do so. It's on YouTube. It's really good. But yeah, come check us out on the channel this week and on Twitch. Also, we are going to be, we're playing a bunch of Strive. We're getting in there, having fun. It's really hilarious to see for the first time Baiken is not just loved, but she's being used and played by people, by a lot of people.
No, get out of town.
And
I don't believe you.
It's crazy, right? But here's what happened. So everyone was excited for the DLC, and the DLC dropped, and all 3 of them are these freak picks that require you to be really into the gimmick or able to get over the mechanical bullshit to play the character, right? Gold Lewis, Jacko, and fucking Gunman are all like wild gimmick characters, and Baiken's the first one that's like, there's a gimmick, but she's pretty straightforward beyond that. And everyone's like, oh yes, okay, thank God, because it's too much work. You need too high an IQ to learn how to do Jacko's setups or the Gunman shit Happy Chaos wants you to do.
Or this Behemoth Typhoon.
Or that Behemoth Typhoon, So everyone just went like, I can't deal with these freak picks. I can't deal. Give me a normal. Okay, Baiken will have to do.
I'm sorry. I just had like a moment where I looked over at our live chat and was struck with the form of mathematical violence that I don't know how to deal with. And I need to hit you with it as well, Wooly.
Mathematical violence.
In the chat, someone asked what's 8 times 7 as a goof, because ask the kids what their times tables are, and people were correctly getting it as 56. However, one person said it's 56 because 70 minus 14 is 56, and I can't figure out how those numbers happen.
I can't do that.
Where did 70 come from?
I can't do that. I have to go 64 minus 8. You go times table, you go 8 times 8, and then you subtract 8 from that. The fuck else happened? I don't know.
Are you 10 times 7 minus 2 times 7? Where the fuck is the 10 coming from? Just do 8.
Are you an abacus user? Is this the power? Oh, God. What was that Twitter thing? There was a Twitter...
You used the multiple of 10 that worked from there? Why?
There was a Twitter equation that was fucking people up. Because it was...
yeah, because nobody knows how to do PEMDAS or BEDMAS.
Yeah. So it was just a whole lot of really, like, silly... dumb things where you're like, okay, you forgot what goes first here, but
it's the brackets or parentheses.
But
first,
the replies to that,
exponents.
The replies to that were hilarious because there was like 1 or 2 people that got the right answer by doing some crazy shit, and they're like, oh yeah, it's real simple, and then they just did the long way, and showed the work, and you're like, oh my God, you're insane, but that is correct. I
don't know. I have such a fucked up relationship with math. Like, my early success really paved the way for my dramatic failures.
Sure.
Because
too confident.
All the way up to grade 8. Show your work. No.
Yep.
Here's the answer on a completely blank, like, the quadratic formula or whatever. I just do it all in my head and just slap it down. Do your work. No, it's the answer 17. Well, that doesn't matter. Doesn't it? Isn't that the right answer? I'd argue with my teachers all the time. Then I hit grade 10. Yeah. And hit, like, trig. And that show was over. That free ride on brain power was done.
It's like you're not being graded on the answer. You're being graded on how you did it. Idiot.
Which is the grandest lie any teacher ever told anyone. In the public school system, you're being graded on whether you know the material. Really? Because I read my whole history book last night and aced this exam and am now rapidly forgetting everything that I read in that book
Yeah, it's regurgitation. But life doesn't care about anything but the answer you choose. But if you're trying to teach the concept correctly, you want to grade that out. Like, you don't want your driving test to be get in the car, come back in half an hour with a sandwich, and if you have no tickets,
No
you succeed.
cyclist inside your windshield.
Then you pass, right? It's like we got to get in the car and watch you do the damn thing. So, um, yeah, if I had learned that unbelievable method of, I think it's like you make a dot if you're doing multiplication. You make a dot for the first number for every one of the first number, and then you make a grid going across for the second, and then you kind of create this star system. Do you know what I'm talking about? Have you seen that? Someone was
I
doing
have
that
not
on
seen
Reddit.
it.
There was like a video of like the way that they do multiplication in, I guess, somewhere else, and it was like almost like creating an X and a Y axis, except it was each pip for one number that you're trying to multiply, and then each pip going along the y-axis for the other, and then you literally draw one line to the other, and then you keep connecting them until you exhaust that, and you draw out a shape. And then once you finish drawing out the shape by connecting the dots, you count the edges of it, and those are your answer.
Yeah, I kind of glazed over as you were explaining that. I couldn't understand it.
It's okay, but it uses the digits to like create a visual shape on paper that then gives you your answer, you know?
You know, I'm just thinking about this as we're talking different ways of multiplying and adding and all this. And like, I think the maddest I ever was in my entire school existence ever was in math class, and it was in grade 7 or 8, and it's where we started to learn like algebra formulas, and I was banging out my questions and answers, and the questions were correct. Sorry, the answers were correct, right? But I was getting like lower marks because I was not using the formulas or the tools that I had just been taught. And she would like look at my work and like, why'd you do it like that? I'm like, because you get the right answer if you do it like that. And I was using my own like math idea that I just thought up looking at the numbers on how to get it. You're like, well, that's not the way we're learning in here. I'm like, but I got it right. Who cares?
Right.
It's right, isn't it? Well, that's not important. What's important is that you learn the method. I'm like, I'm showing you my work, and my work is, oh God, I'm so mad now.
So
I could have been really smart, maybe.
Maybe. Almost. And it's everyone else's fault. Not yours.
Oh, no. Most of it is definitely mine.
Oh, well, shit. Damn.
But they could have helped, I guess. Oh,
so
mad.
The thing that I'm talking about, I believe, is called the lattice method. And you create essentially like like a lattice or like an array with the numbers going along both sides. Here, I found a picture of it, and if you just type lattice method into Google, you should see a bunch of examples of it, and you just do some wild shit, and before you know it, you're adding everything together. So 32 times 7 is this example that I'm looking at here, and you create one box for the 3, one box for the 2, and then along the sides you go down one box because it's 7, you know, and then you draw diagonal lines, and then you add up what's in the boxes, and then you get 2, 2, and 4, and that way you know the answer is 32 times 7 equals 224. Because in the first box, it's a 2. In the second box with the diagonal, it's 1 plus 1, so that's a 2. And then in the third box over here, it's a 4, so that's still a 4. So it writes out as 224.
So I'm looking at this, and
it's crazy.
I literally cannot even parse how a single number is being placed on this chart, like at the start of it.
Yeah.
and that's fine. What I'm discovering from this is that I am not a visual learner.
Okay. To me,
I am a read/discover learner.
so this made sense to me when I watched someone do it with a pen in their hand, right? So the question was 32 times 7. And then, so they wrote with the pen 3, 2. And you're like, there's the number 32. I recognize that. And then they made a box under each number, right?
Right.
And then they went to the other side and they went 7. So if it was like 72, they would have made a second set of boxes. But since it's just one digit, they only did one box, which is 7, and it's on the right side. You know? I was like, okay, so you have 2 digits at the top and 7 on the side. Got it. I recognize those. What's next? And then it's like, then you draw a diagonal line.
Right.
From each point at the top to the opposite corner of the box at the bottom. And then you add the numbers in each slice together.
So how'd you pick the numbers for the slices?
So when you slice here, you know what? I don't know.
That's the part where I'm failing.
Yeah, I don't know.
32 to 7.
Yeah.
Like, why does under 3 is 2/1, and why is under 2 1/4?
What made you pick those numbers? I don't know.
It's 3 times 7 is equal to 21, and 2 times 7 is equal to 14.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Front, it's
yes.
210.
Yes.
So this is just a visual representation of what I would do, which is 30 times 7 is 210.
Yes.
And 2 times 7 is 14, which is 214.
Yeah, so you go 3 times 7, and then the answer is 21, and then 2 times 7, and the answer is 14, and then you draw a line in between
I don't know what the point of the line is, or the numbers on the bottom, though.
It just happens to visually add up in such a way where if 7 were actually a multiple digit number and there were more boxes beneath, the diagonals would create the right numbers to add up so that anyway, 224 would be correct, right?
So the important thing is to learn your times tables up to 10, because holy shit. Man, I'm gonna...
The important thing is to invent incognito mode for calculators.
If I ever have to teach a child math, I'm gonna, take a shot right beforehand.
Yeah, that's fine.
You see here, Timmy, math was invented by the government to keep you down.
See, the problem is if you're doing that, then you're already in the middle of the homeschooling route, which, if you're doing a good job, then that kid will be fine, but there's a lot of people that don't do a good job, and the homeschooled kid ends up being a little bit weird.
The ideal situation for most people, I would assume, is you go to school and they hit them with the basics, and then you help them with their homework, and you fill in the blanks on the shit their teachers don't have time for.
Sure.
Like the fact that when I went to high school, the phrase World War II was uttered literally one time.
That's crazy.
And it was in response to how the average Quebecer did not want to join up in the war because they didn't want to help out the British, because fuck the British.
That's crazy.
That was the only part of my history class that dealt with World War II.
Huh. No, ours went into more depth than that. Our books I think it was grade 10, went into a bit more than that. But
Quebec history classes are very, very Quebec central.
Dude, I don't know, man. My stuff was like grade 11 was Canada specific. Grade 9 was like world, like ancient times until modern day.
I also went to one of the shittiest high schools in the province.
Yeah, okay. No, like our high school normal curriculum, grade 9 was like history of everything, like ancient times to modern day, and then 10 was modern history, which included World War II, which included basically everything 20th century,
I did 8 months one year on like the Quiet Revolution.
Okay.
And I was like, man, no one cares.
And yeah, and grade 11 was all, Coureur de Bois and the Métis. And
hey, you want to learn about the fucking fur trade? No.
Well, do you want to graduate?
Fine.
Yeah, so that's what we did. Anyways, what the fuck? I don't know.
I hated history so much until I became like completely out of the school system. Like once I had my university degree and was just reading history shit for fun, oh wow, history rules. I love learning historical stuff. I did not have a single history anything in like 17 years of school at any point that I was interested in at all.
It came back around for me. I remember early on with when I met Punch Mom, like she had like a huge blank spot for all things history related, and it was like, this is fucked up because like I graduated but I just didn't pay attention to any of it, so I remember nothing about history. And that's how like we found out about the hardcore history podcasts and like all that Dan Carlin stuff where like it's like recapping in depth something that used to just be a really long wiki dive, you know. So yeah, I don't know, but it's still leisurely and for fun, but ultimately it's interesting, and I don't know, you kind of feel like you should know some stuff as an adult, you know, when there's these blank spots.
I'm like every day I find out something that I feel like, how am I 35 and I'm finding this out now?
Yeah. Like, you know, well, Indonesia, for example. So
good.
That's
yeah.
So
that would have been nice to know. Well, no, actually, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. You know, it helps. It helps. Anyway, that is what. Yeah. Let's just dodge. I was gonna go like the only other place I was gonna go is something about homeschooling, but we can dodge that. I think everybody knows the deal there. So.
Well, then you end up weird, like Daniel, the kid that went to my high school after being homeschooled for 10 years. He was really nice though.
He went to normal school, so then he started learning what it meant to socialize.
He went to normal school starting in grade 10.
Yeah, that's really late.
It was very late.
I don't know anyone who was homeschooled who is fully normal when it comes to just sociability. It's just a problem. And
Daniel was like a really great kid. It's just that all he could talk about was Jesus, school, and martial arts, at which he was a freak at. He was like built like a fucking pine knot.
Yeah, that's the kind of person if you're trying to create that person deliberately, that's the way to do it.
Probably the nicest person I've ever known in my entire life, if I actually were to think about it. But I didn't want to ever hang out with him because he was too weird.
Yeah, the problem is just they spend like the next decade trying to figure out how people work.
No, because he probably went right into preaching.
Oh, well, fair enough. You sidestep it. Yeah, okay. Well, anyways, in my experience, I've met a couple people, and I know I have some friends that were homeschooled, and yeah, it's always like you're delaying whatever you instill at home. You're delaying their ability to like talk to other kids and just get used to what that is like, you know.
Remember reading articles on like homeschooling your kids and like cutting out TV for your kids, for example. Like, and this is like in the mid 90s. It's like you may think you're keeping them from like bad influences on TV, but having your child not know what The Simpsons are will do more damage in that one thing than any possible gain. Because they have to go exist in a community with other kids, and that makes them an outsider.
Yeah. That was ultimately, I believe, the thing with like phones and social media that like I remember multiple parents coming to the conclusion on was just like, okay, well, if you want your kid to not have a phone or any social media, they're now the weirdo that doesn't exist online. And that will be more detrimental than whatever you're afraid of, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I have a kid, they'll obviously have to get a phone, but I will just, check their phone randomly for bullshit. Because children are liars. You know how I know that? Because I was a child with internet access, and I was a liar!
Yep. Yep. I mean, you gotta, like, if it's an elaborate hustle, you gotta respect it and then punish, you know? But the ingenuity that comes with, like, finding creative ways to bend the rules is I'm the kind of dad that would respect it, you know? Just can't let it fly, but hey, that talent's gonna go somewhere.
You gotta tell the kids about the birds and the bees early now. Because of the internet. You don't want...
Earlier than usual.
You don't want them to ask why your area has so many hot singles as like one of the first points of conversation.
Well, it used to be Toby on the playground knows more than...
about 4!
So it used to be Toby on the playground tells all the other kids because he knows some shit that they don't, and he got hands on a magazine, you know. And then there was going out into the woods and finding a stash of fucking Playboys or something. And those days don't exist. Fuck that. It's happening immediately right away. So yeah, you're gonna have to fucking step in at a much earlier point than you would otherwise want to, you know. God, like, my dad just,
I can already feel like a whole story just behind your eyes.
It was like he tried to take the social worker approach to this shit, and it was just so awful and bad. And like, we're sitting there, you know, and we're all like, dude, we know, just stop. You don't, like, you never, ever, ever step in to do anything like this, and now you want to try because you feel some kind of response. Fuck off. Like, you know. And I remember just, like, this was, it was the type of shit where, I mean, God bless, like, I have a funny cousin of mine who, when we were all living together, like, you know, when you did something bad, you'd get licks. You know, that was it. You got your spanking, you got your beats when you fucked up, and like with him, everyone, like, that's how our family worked. But like with my dad in particular, he'd sit you down and try to go through the interrogation process and do the social work angle on it. And I remember, like, my cousin had to sit down and answer the questions, and like after 3 of them, he was just like, "Oh God, just beat me, just just beat me, dude. I can't take this, man. just give me the licks, you know." Because it was the worst, cringiest angle on it, and like, yeah, that bird and the bees discussion shit was like, yeah,
because like when I was
deep soul
when
cringe.
I was a youngin', I got the variation of like, I found out, it's like, well, what, my parents made the mistake, because my first question had nothing to do with sex. I was a little baby, and I was like, how do ladies get pregnant? And this was followed, God, you know, kids are assholes. This was followed by me in a Woolco, if you remember Woolco, yelling out, "Mommy, why is that lady so fat?"
Yeah. Yeah.
To which she's explained to me that she's pregnant and was pregnant. Oh, she got a baby in there. How did you get a baby in there? Well, when 2 people love each other very much and they kiss, a baby shows up in the stomach.
That's how it
then
happens.
I'm like 6 years old and I kiss the neighbor girl, and I start to lose my fucking mind because, oh no, I'm like a child. I can't have a baby.
Well, then why'd you kiss her?
Did my parents laugh their fucking asses off at me.
Well, then why'd you kiss her?
Because she was hot.
Well, consequences. Actions. Anyway.
I think that might be the hardest my dad has ever laughed in his life.
Yeah, that's
like,
one of
like bordering on pointing at me.
Yeah,
and
it's
laughing
because it's one of those darndest things moments that you put in the album, you know. Yeah, and you go, why? So that's why that lady looks fat. It's the baby, and then the lady goes, "I'm not pregnant."
Well, then you both have to leave.
Yeah.
Then you both have to leave.
Time to learn Time to learn the other family secret, the JoJo family secret.
Oh. So that one, like, I can't remember how that happened. I don't remember how that played out. I assume since the person was pregnant, ha ha ha, children, right? But the ones where it's like, yo, Dad, what's wrong with that guy's face?
Yeah.
Is like,
yeah.
No, that's not what it was. It was, why is that guy so ugly?
Oh, man. Oh, kid.
And it's like, oh.
Well, because God hates him and loves you.
Talk.
Yeah. And then the lesson is not about about the answer to that question. The lesson is about indoor voice and the concept of earshot.
Like, luckily, I'll tell you what, here's a family story for y'all. I don't think I've ever told you this one. Luckily, I got like it easy on that. I didn't really get into trouble. I just got told that's rude. Don't do that. That's very mean to other people. Because prior to me, my brother, half brother, for the purposes of this story, pulled the ultimate variation of this shit, where he's out shopping with my mom, who is his stepmom, and he's like 6 or 7, and she won't get him some bullshit that he wants, right? So what does he do? He starts screaming and wailing in French exclusively that this lady is not his mother and that he needs help. And my mom at the time couldn't speak French. So people start to come up to her. Like that kid and my sister as well, bilingual since the day you're born kind of thing. So that motherfucker knew exactly what he was doing.
Holy fuck. Yeah, no. The step above, like that is a hatched scheme.
Try and get her arrested.
Yeah, basically. That is fucking evil. That's okay. Well, all right. The good son.
He was evil right away.
Fucking
right away.
Macaulay Culkin. Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, if you're homeschooled out there, good luck to you.
Yeah, good luck. And, sneak some TV in.
Yeah. I'm happy to accept like when I visit another country, the thing where like babies and like toddler-ish age kids just bug eye. They just lock on like, what am I looking at? And I'm like, yeah, I know. It's a lot, you know. And
you're talking about like traveling to like a predominantly white or Asian country?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
you know, where it's just like, okay, you hopefully
literally never even heard of a black person.
Yeah. Hopefully at that point, mom can, you know, try to explain that a little bit later. You know.
Oh, I worked at a grocery store. I've seen 4 and 5-year-olds say what, if an adult said, would be some of the most racist shit you could possibly imagine.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a baby.
Mm-hmm.
A baby doesn't even know what that is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, so again, I'm just like, you know, do your best to just be like, yep, hi, people can look like this too, and leave the rest to them, you know, and and if the mother turns the child away,
No!
How was your week?
My week was great. I had a great week. I got a couple of things I want to talk about. They're pretty much all video games. That's pretty much what I did for my week. I mean, I lived my life and whatnot. Paige made some incredible soup the other day, but I mean, I don't think you guys want to hear about Paige's soup. It's really good. It's like a steak vegetable thing. Oh, it's excellent. Love your soup, honey. If you're listening. Let's see. First things first. I'm gonna mention that I have received an early copy of Total Warhammer 3 way early. So thanks to Sega and Deadgood for that. And that's all I have to say about that until my stream on Thursday the 10th. So I'll be streaming that Thursday at 7 p.m. on the 10th. Probably want to check that out. Second of all, why are people asking me questions? I just anyway. Secondly,
keep it going.
That's not real, right? I played a sponsored stream for Path of Exile, so that I could influence people to play Path of Exile. So thank you for the money, Path of Exile, very appreciated. And then I blew like multiple nights on Path of Exile after I influenced myself to play Path of Exile.
Good.
Which is probably the best conceivable response to one of those streams.
Yeah.
Where they're like, hey, here's some money, play the game. And I'm like, haha, joke's on you, idiot. I love this.
Yes.
Path of Exile is it's Diablo. It's if you're not familiar with it, it's literally just Diablo. It was made back in 2010, 2011 from people that were pissed off that there was no new Diablo, and they're like, we're gonna make our own Diablo with blackjack and hookers, but it'll be free to play.
So my ignorant question is, like, when I see a game that has a big red orb in the on the left and a blue one on the right, am I allowed?
Yeah.
Am I allowed? Okay, all right.
This is the first time this topic has come up in which you're completely right, Wooly. It is literally Diablo. You hit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for your potions. Hit QWERTY for your skills. Click on the mouse. Do that shit. There's the classes, and then the classes all have the same kind of skills you would expect. The mage lady, the witch has fireball and zombies and whatever. What have you. It's really, 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 really big. It's been around in some form since 2010, and it's been fully released since 2013, so it's about a decade old now. And there's 10 acts, whereas like Diablo 2 at its height had like 5. Like it's absolutely fucking enormous. And it has a really interesting, live service model, right? So it is totally free. It is legitimately totally free, right? Play the game to do it, right? The things that they sell is, do you want a shiny hat? Do you want angel wings? Do you want your sword to be on fire? Yada, yada, right? And they also sell, like, do you want a different mouse icon? Or do you want more you want more storage space in your stash, or do you want a storage space in your stash that holds currency or unique items or whatever, right? So okay, so their live service model is, we're going to have a new type of mechanic. So this is the season of the arch nemesis right now, and it'll run for 13 weeks. And so for 13 weeks, you'll have these little arch nemesis statues that you can use a special currency on, and they'll summon a boss, and then you beat the boss, yada yada, right? You start a new character in this league, and then that new character will exist in the arch nemesis league for 13 weeks. Or, I mean, if you started today, 12 weeks, right? And then when the Arch Nemesis League is over, your character will be picked out of Arch Nemesis and then moved to Standard League, which has no time limit. It's forever. But that character won't be able to mess with the mechanics of the new season, which is in 12 and a half weeks now, right? So if you want to keep playing the new gimmick that happens every 3 months,
You restart.
You make a new character, which, considering getting from 1 to cap, can be as fast as like 2 days of playing if you really know what you're doing.
Oh, okay.
Makes sense, right? But the weirdest thing is, like, have you ever seen the Path of Exile skill tree?
No, I'm just looking at what the game looks like.
Okay, so we're gonna hit Wooly with a live Path of Exile skill tree reveal here. I'm gonna go. Here we go. Here's.
Oh my god!
Oh, you found it?
Oh my god!
Yeah, here you go.
Okay.
Do you have the zoomable version?
Yeah. Jesus.
My chat correctly characterized that as a skill forest. It's a sphere grid. Each class starts at a different part of the skill tree.
I was gonna say sphere grid, but like the scale
times infinity, yeah. And also near the end of the game, you unlock what's called the Atlas passive thing, which is another entire new skill tree that is just for endgame. And so there's that. So when people say it has infinity depth, they mean it. But on top of that, I recently discovered that successful seasons, right? Like, let's say Arch Nemesis season was really successful and people really liked it. That mechanic will then be rolled in to the standard game mode. So as I'm playing through right now, I'm in Act 3 of 10. I've encountered a hideout system, a crafting system, a menagerie system, a hate system, a trial system, the arch nemesis system, etc. And it's like, it's 10 years of like pseudo weekly mechanics stacked up on top of each other. And there's just so goddamn much. It is Path of Exile's systemic depth is the action RPG equivalent of a fake Blaze Blue screenshot with the meteors.
Yeah, okay.
If anybody has seen those, your old-fashioned fake-ass metered Blaze Blue screenshots.
Now, is that what this audience is looking for?
Yes, because, and this is the important thing, it used to be 5 acts and then they added 5 more. The acts don't change. What changes is how you build your character. Period. And as a result, if you want people to play this game for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, you need to enable an absolutely gargantuan amount of player expression through skill customization and the way you want to build your character, in addition to the randomized loot drops and stuff like that. So, like, it feels like the kind of game where if I actually make it to Act 10, I will get to the 10th act and be like, wow, I did everything wrong on the way here. Time to restart now that I know what I'm doing a little bit.
Right.
And so on and so forth. But it's free. So that time expenditure, as long as you had fun, is so it's a really fascinating game that is definitely for some people and definitely not for other people.
Unsurprisingly, the people behind this only make this and the first one. So
Yeah, they're making they announced Path of Exile 2, which, do you know what Path of Exile 2 is? 7 more acts.
Yeah. Like, this is a all-encompassing product.
That are in the same game. They're just going to add more of them. And then they announced that, and I looked up when it's coming out, and it's coming out in 2024.
I mean, I do like the idea of characters that can be capped within a short time frame, so that you are encouraged to, like, try a new one when a new season comes out. That's cool.
Yeah, they also have a fun little world first thing happen, where as you are playing, like, because I was playing within an hour or two of the game going live for the sponsored stream, and in your chat, it will tell you who is the world first at every major milestone. So it will literally say, I forget his name is thank you something, is the first person to reach the desecrated temple, and such and such.
And next time it could be your turn.
Maybe it could be. It won't be. Oh my god, the people who have been playing this and are getting world first are freaks.
Yeah, but new players get to start at the same time, so we all feel like we're running the race together.
Yeah.
It's smart.
Yeah, it's really cool. I really strongly enjoyed it. Though it's definitely the kind of game that you go in super hard on and then you fall completely off of, and then go back and go super hard on, and so on and so forth. It's one of those things that's unfortunate. Its biggest strength is its biggest flaw. All this character customization, all this skill tree stuff is, oh wow, that's cool. Starting it and getting your feet in, like up to your ankles, is like it's like more intimidating than Warframe. Like, it's totally absurd.
Is there a community that, like, has, like, build recommendations?
Oh yeah, and that's part of the problem, because when you say, hey, I would like a build for beginners, people go, okay, well, we have those for you. It's called a League start build, which is the build that you would start at your League, where you don't have any of your old items because they moved to standard. Okay, this is what you would start with. Well, a League start build is written not for beginners. A League start build is written for above average to experts, whatever level of skill you are, just below smart enough to write a guide for it. And, like, I'm looking at the League start build for a Wither Trickster thing. It doesn't even say what the starting class is in the build. Trickster is the advanced class of one of them. I think it's the Assassin. But the guide doesn't actually say pick Assassin, because it assumes you already know, because this isn't a guide to start the game. It's a guide to start this League. It's like, okay, I would like a beginner guide for biking, and the beginner guide for biking says, here's your B&B, and just slams a notation down. And you go, but what is a B&B? What the fuck is a bread and what is that? So the generalized reality has been a piece of advice that I got before I did my stream and after, and I'm now offering it to others. If you are new to Path of Exile and you want to give it a shot, ignore all of that shit and literally just fucking wing it until you hit a wall so severe you cannot progress in the game at all. Right? So you could probably get through all 10 acts winging it, right? And then you'd hit the end game and just get instantly killed, right? and go, I don't know what that is, then maybe go look at these kinds of external resources now that you know what a skill gem is or a whatever.
And it's all PvE, right?
It is all PvE except for the PvP, which technically exists, but I've never seen it.
Okay. Because just the introduction of a PvP in any way complicates all of these calculations massively. So but why would things go the simple route with a game that's willing to go this insane on just the PvE side of it?
So it's really impressive. I think it's really cool. It looks really nice. And to get a second opinion on this, I'm being frantically texted right now by one Peach Saliva who's telling me that I'm nuts and not to just wing it. To which I say, shut up! If you want pro tips for Path of Exile, you can hit her up at Peach Saliva on Twitter. All right. What else? What else did I do this week? What else did I do? Let's check the video producer. This is so embarrassing I have to do this. I can't remember anything that happens in my life. Monster Hunter Rise. Oh god, I played Dying Light 2.
How was
god.
Was that Rosario Dawson I saw?
I don't know. I didn't meet her.
Okay. I thought I saw her.
Dying Light 2 is like the wildest game, man. Okay, so Dying Light was a really fun parkour zombie game with a pretty bad story. Pretty bad. Dying Light 2 is a really, really fun zombie game with a terrible story.
Oh, no.
Like, awful. Awful. You give me a second?
Sure. Sure.
You know what? Can we take a break? I gotta take a piss and I gotta take the dog out anyway.
No problem. Be right back.
Hey, we're back to talk about Dying Light 2. Like I said, a cool game with fun gameplay and a terrible story. It's so bad. It's so bad. And you know what? In a lot of games, that's okay because you can just ignore the story, right?
Yeah.
No, this is one of those games that really, really thinks it did a good story. So they give you tons of it at all
Ooh.
times.
Ooh. Okay. All right.
There is so much fucking awful script in this game. It's so I'm okay.
Go.
I'm just gonna say the gameplay, it's really good. It's really fun. You parkour, you hit the zombie, it's fun, it works good. It's an improvement of the first game's formula. Cool, thumbs up. Good video game about the video game parts. Okay, moving on. Step 1, man, even if the story was good, there's way too much. There's so much.
Mm-hmm.
I streamed it for about 4 hours. There's like 2.5 hours of fucking cutscene. It's way too much. Way too much. Second of all, I don't know how to explain this other than telling a story. So come with me. We're gonna tell a story. Okay. This game was originally written by Chris Avellone.
Okay.
However, Chris Avellone was taken off the project, as well as all of his work, due to some sexual abuse allegations.
Mm-hmm.
They then had to rewrite the whole game. But what seems to be very clear was the game's overall path and tone had already been decided. Which means they now had to have a new writer write a Chris Avellone story in the style of the Avellone, but wasn't Avellone.
Okay.
And what you have resulting is what I would like to term the new cringe Vegas style of writing, in which they're trying to have every character be interesting and weird, and they are all cringe. Every single character is cringe. I don't know how to explain it other than that.
I think I understand.
They are all tryhards.
I think I understand. Everyone's quippy.
But the quips are shit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And my favorite, my absolute favorite, something I can't believe made it into the game as such a huge part of it. Your character is a science freak in that he was a child experiment to help cure the zombos, which explains why you're fast in your video game character, yada yada. But he lost contact with his sister, so he's trying to find his sister. That's your impetus for the game, right? I gotta find my sister, right? Okay, fine. Except you consistently have flashbacks to you being a child with your sister, yada yada, child flashbacks, in the asylum or whatever, and your character's name is Aiden, and to make the relationship between your sister and you as children more real, they have decided that every single time your sister talks to you, she calls you Aiden Bobaden.
The whole time.
Every time. And you're like in
It's a
this
good choice.
nightmare. You're in this nightmare facility with all these sick bald kids. And there's like what are supposed to be like Nazi scientists wandering around. And she's like, Aiden Bobaden, come on, we gotta hide in the cupboard. And it's like, I can't. And I can't. It's so bad. And like, and there's a fun little interface problem with the game. that normally I would not even know about. So when you start a cutscene, any cutscene, in the bottom right corner of the screen, it says, "Hey man, hit the B button to skip." And at one point, I'm like, okay, I am now giving up on the story. And I hit skip. And to my fucking astonishment, it skips the line of dialogue in the cutscene. And the camera is synced to the dialogue, so the camera jerks forward to reflect the scene on the timeline. And so I'm like mashing V as
KOTOR
characters
style.
are like flipping out, and I'm teleporting through a scene, and they're like, and it's every talking cutscene in the entire game works like that.
And as a game that apparently has celebrities in it, they're not going to hire celebrities for not story mode.
And it's like, I bought it to stream it, and that's fine. I got my money's worth for work purposes, and I'm totally going to play it, and that's fine. And I'm like, I'm constantly being murdered by the story, and I'm hating it. And I'm like, you know what? I can play co-op with my friends, and then just ignore the story. And the answer is like, no, I can't. It is the second game in my entire gaming history, in my life, that I am not going to play any more of because I can't skip enough of the story.
Oh, wow.
And the first one is Borderlands 3.
You're out.
Yeah.
Holy shit. That must be really bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, no. This is the third one. Somebody in chat just pointed out a third one that I forgot about. Daemon X Machina.
Oh. Yeah, okay.
Daemon X Machina. An incredible mecha game that absolutely will not stop stopping you from playing your cool mecha game.
Oh, man. Dude, so this is just... A lot of this is just hitting particularly funny because if I have to be honest, Everhood is teetering on the edge of some of what you just described.
Oh, yeah?
But I'm waiting to see the resolution. I want to give it the fairest shot I can, and I want to see how it all wraps up. But there's things along the way where there's a point where I kind of was like, I would love to play the next stage and hear the amazing music right now. But I'm waiting because it needs a fair assessment. It would be unfair to have some shit change even further, and that's not being factored into what's happening here.
I just saw somebody point out that I should probably finish No More Heroes 3 after this conversation, which is a funny game to bring up because it's one of the only games I've ever played in my life that I feel the complete opposite.
Fuck the gameplay. Let's get to the next cutscene.
One of the reasons why I stopped playing No More Heroes 3 is that I thought it was annoying that I would have to play the game until I got to the really good bits, which are all the zany cutscenes.
Yeah. It's you know, it's a thing. The gameplay in No More Heroes has always been a fucking whatever for the most part. So I expect this to be the most refined version, and I hear good things. I heard a lot of people liked it. So, yeah. But in any case, though, everything you're saying is just floating around in my head, and I've already gotten like some super angry all caps Rees screaming at me over because Everhood is an Undertale styled game, so there are lots of feelings.
A certain type of person.
There are lots of feelings about that. So so that's why I'm just like I'm gonna wait to see what we get out of that full experience. But yeah, man, there's something to that feeling of like, can I run to the gameplay? Um, is there a mode on the title screen that is like, yo, just do some horde, do some
No,
gauntlets?
no.
No.
Trying to find out who the voice. The other thing, and they are different voice actors. The main character in Dying Light 1 was Roger Craig Smith, and I think that I was just looking it up. The voice actor for Aiden's character in Dying Light 2 is Jonah Hill,
Oh wow.
and they're doing a very good job. And I have to say that even though Jonah Hill is doing a fairly good job, I think it might have. Sorry, Jonah Scott, not Jonah Hill. That's a different person. Jonah
Okay,
Scott
I was like, that's a
is doing
unusual
a
video
good
game
job.
casting. Okay.
Good for him. However, I think maybe they might have had a casting problem, because when I started the game up, I was legitimately confused for like an hour because I thought I was somehow playing the main character of the first game who had changed their name, because it is the same voice.
Oh, is he doing like an impression?
It is the Troy Baker Nolan North main character man
Okay.
voice. Legitimately thought it was the same character or the same actor entirely. Like same mannerisms, same inflections, same. It's why did you do it like that? Like it sounds like they directed him to sound the same as the character from Dying Light 1. Baffling. Totally baffling.
And Sonic the Hedgehog man's got some range.
Yeah,
So.
does.
Okay.
Yeah, that game is alternatingly incredible and awful. It's
That
like,
feeling has been popping up quite a bit too much recently. It's been popping up quite a
this is
bit.
so good, except for
There's a
this.
thing. There's a thing. Yeah. No.
Oh man. Oh. You know, being reminded of Daemon X Machina bums me out really bad, because I think Daemon X Machina is the game I love the most, except that I hate it.
It's really fucking cool.
Yeah, I wish I could actually play more of it.
You can't get around it. Yeah.
I felt like I was being actively stopped from enjoying it when I was streaming it.
I mean, when someone's got an idea in mind for some kind of story that they want to tell or something, like there's it feels like, kind of, it feels a bit shitty if you're like, hey creator, like do less of you and more of what, this franchise is doing.
No, you know what they should be told? Hey, creator, go play through every Ace Combat game. That's how you do it.
Get a feel for that.
You have a pre-fight briefing that takes place entirely on a fucking digital geographic map that you can skip, and then the rest of it happens exclusively through radio chatter. Done.
Again, though, considering I just got confirmation that it is Rosario Dawson. To me, I'm like, not every time, but most of the time that a game is gonna get a celebrity likeness to appear, they're gonna do a lot of content around that, or it's because the game is focused on the narrative and the story, and like there was a script that was presented that they went, oh, this is an interesting thing, yeah, I'll get on board this project, like it's going in that direction. It's stepping heavily into the emphasis that makes their casting worth it.
Also, the game's story has a bad case of, what do I call this? The game story has a really bad case of what I'm going to call the Stormcloaks.
Stormcloaks.
Okay, so the fact that you said that with like a weird quizzical accent is hilarious and makes a great person to talk to about this. So, in the hit video game, The Elder Scrolls Skyrim, the very first thing that happens is you discover about the conflict between one faction, the Imperials, and the other faction, the Stormcloaks. right? One is Skyrim belongs to the Nords, rebel faction, and the other is the Empire, right? The very, 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 very first thing happens to you is the Empire attempts to murder you. They attempt to execute you on the spot.
I thought the first thing that happens is you wake up in a wagon.
Yes, and you are bound and you are on your way to be executed by the Imperials. Like, and they literally go, well, who is this guy? And they go, I don't know. Fuck it. Kill him anyway. So it's a really astonishingly bad first impression, right? So, and then when you get free, a Stormcloak guy goes, hey man, you're free. Come on, let's get out of here. So it definitely aims you towards the Stormcloaks, right? And then you get to the Stormcloak city, and depending on your character, literally the first thing that you're going to hear is a racial slur directed at you. Like step one in the door. And then the second thing you're going to find out when you go to them is that Skyrim is for the Nords. And then the third thing, if you get deeper into their quest line, is that you find out that the leader is actually like a plant from like a foreign power, and that it's actually to destabilize.
Okay, so the noble rebellion is not so noble.
Yeah, so the Imperials actually are unironically the good guys, except for the part where they're a fascistic empire and they want to kill you. But they're all right, right? Let's talk about Dying Light 2. You got the two factions. You got the free people and the peacekeepers. The free people, they're free, man. They're making schools and they're teaching kids and they're all about, live your life and it's cool, man. They're basically like hippies in the apocalypse. And the peacekeepers, man, I think the character says, yeah, they were keeping the peace and they helped protect us against the zombies, but it's their way or the highway, and and it's clearly set up to be the cops. They literally look like cops. They're dressed like cops, etc. Okay, so what happens in the game? Well, the first thing that happens when you meet one of these groups is the free people attempt to lynch you. Step one. Hey, that guy's infected. Lynch him. Until a nice man comes to help you because he's nice. Okay, cool. Then you try and get help from them and they fuck you over. Like hard. Okay, cool. And then every time you interact with the two groups, the free people are like shit-talking you and not trusting you and accusing you of being a murderer for a murder that happened before you were in the city. And every time you talk to the peacekeepers, they're totally upfront and take you legit. And they go, well, you couldn't murder anybody. You weren't even in the city. And it summarizes with a quest in which you're trying to find brass knuckles, in which they're certain, well, the murderer would have brass knuckles because that, these specific brass knuckles, they're the murder. Okay. And you find the brass knuckles on a child. So you go to turn it in and you expect that they're going to go, oh, well, that kid's the murderer. Got it, right? And they go, oh, well, I guess they must have stolen it or something. Oh, that's a dead end. And just completely reasonable. And like, it's one of those things like characters like will imply to you that this group is corrupt or like vicious or overly militant. But you never see it once, ever, in any format. And the good people are just constantly lying to you and stabbing you in the back. And it feels like the situation where they wanted to set it up like, oh, maybe, and have it be ambiguous, but forgot to put any ambiguity actually in there.
So it's just the overall authoritarian force gives off an aura, but there's not actually enough bad happening after the first moment.
There's nothing.
Okay.
There's nothing bad happening. You have a group that totally respects you and treats you fine and appears to be out there saving people, and you have a group that is constantly backstabbing each other and attempting to murder you and fucking you over constantly. And the game's like pointing at you to be like, oh, it's
yeah.
wild.
Yeah. See, I just thought of other Everhood related shit, but it really
wow,
is.
This Everhood seems lit, man.
Well, we'll get there eventually. But the thing that's interesting is when you create factions and then like in your head it's like, well, these are the good guys, these are the bad guys, and that's a given. So now you can kind of like flavor it and pepper it up in whatever way you want to, but you're supposed to have an implicit feeling that like, no, the noble rebels though, that'll always supersede anything else versus the big evil cops over here. Interesting. Does it at all, like, while this is happening, does the player reflect any of that like hostility or like comment on it? Or
no, the player's like a total self-insert.
Okay.
Unless it comes to the sister.
Okay.
I gotta find my sister. Oh, I miss my sister. I'm at the point where I'm gonna just say it. Stop making plots about finding a family member.
I gotta pee, but I can still hear you. Keep going.
Okay. Stop making plots about finding a family member and then putting in cutscenes to make the player care about the family member. Because if you fucking do anything other than completely fucking nail it, you're gonna have a problem, right? Even, let's take Nier as an example. Are you finding your family member? No, you're caring about them. What's the difference? You get to see them and interact with them and like them instead of just seeing it in a flashback. Zangief agrees. Like Fallout 3 and 4 both have the same problem. And Force is way worse. Like
That's a humongous trope with like stories in general though, and games suffer through it aggressively when it's like when you're going to rescue a person, but you can't, you're like, I don't know, like there's no contact from them, there's no idea of who they are, you meet them at the last possible second, and because they haven't existed the entire game, then the bad guy can come in and be like, kill them. And,
hey, Wooly.
You know.
Hey, Jin Sakai. What are you doing, man? What's your quest about? I have to find the samurai that smells like sunflowers.
Uh-huh.
Why? Well, cause they're my dad. Here's one flashback. Okay, that's the goal of Ghost of Tsushima.
Samurai Champloo?
Yeah. I'm mixing them. I'm mixing them.
Yeah.
I'm mixing it.
Yeah.
It's stupid. It sucks shit. Also, you know what I want? I want a developer to come out with a cool game, and then in the post-mortem, they're like, and this might have already happened, somebody could let me know. They're like, yeah, we realized 99% of the way through that all the story was garbage, so we took it all out, and now the game's good.
I was gonna say that like most of the time that ends up being the case with the missing, family member or so. But you can tell good stories, and it does exist. There are shows and movies and animes and whatever where like the loved one is not a constant. They only show up at the end, but they show up to like update something that you had no idea. Like they show up and like you realize, oh, that's a piece of shit. Or they show up and you're like, oh, the main character is completely full of it, you know? Where it's something where it's like you were under some other impression entirely, and they show up to change that impression, right? Those things are effective.
Now I want to point out, somebody points out correctly, and this is a really good point, Pat, Silent Hill 2, one of the greatest games of all time, one of the best stories of all time, is about just a man trying to find his loved one. It's the exact thing you're complaining about. Except earlier I said, unless you completely nail it. This type of story has a margin of error of like 1%.
Yeah.
It's either shit or it's the best.
And
There's no in between.
And I'll marry that to what I was just saying, which is when the person that has not been around shows up at the last second, they better bring with them recontextualizing information that affects everything you're thinking of about these characters. And if they don't, if it's just, no, that was my sister, and we found her, and she's happy to see me, now let's figure out what to do with the rest of this, then then there was no point.
There is really like a whole class to be taught about Fallout 4 and how Fallout 4's main plot is like one of the worst plots in video games ever and has one of the worst twists ever. It's like you just described. When you find that person, there has to be some sort of change to the situation. The Fallout 4 change is so bad that it makes the entire quest pointless, stupid, and better had you not gone on it at all. And not in a way of like a main character be like, what have I done? What have I wasted? No, it's like everyone's lives would have been better if nothing had happened. It's unbelievably terrible. And I want to talk about it. Is that game old enough that I can just talk about the Fallout 4 twist? Because it's god awful. Wooly, do I have your blessing on this?
If I go play a Fallout game, it'll probably be New Vegas, so I'm going to give you the... Yeah, I'll give you the okay on that.
So I'm going to go big-ass finale spoilers for the plot of Fallout 4 and the big twist. Fallout 4's plot starts as you are a man cryogenically frozen, and you wake up from cryogenic freezing, and guys shoot your wife and or husband, depending, and steal your baby, Sean, your infant baby, Sean. And then you get refrozen, and then you wake up a little later, and you're like, Sean! I gotta find Sean! I gotta search the Capital Wasteland to find Sean! And you go on a little quest, and I found this guy, he seemed to have Sean, and then found this guy, and I track him down. And there's the Evil Institute. The MIT has gone evil in the Fallout universe, and they're making Sims to replace people like replicants. And they're killing people and taking their place, and nobody knows why. And I gotta find the Institute. And it's Boston. Okay, I found the way to the Institute. I found the way. I'm in the Evil Institute. I've got there. I'm here. Oh, look, I found Sean. Sean's in a glass case. Sean, you're there, my child. Sean. And then the kid's like weird. And it's like, not Sean? And then an old man comes in. And the old man is named Father. And he's like, I'm the head of the Institute. And I love making robots that kill people. And I thought this would be easier for you to deal with because I'm Sean. You were actually frozen for like 60 years after they stole me. And now I'm the head of the Institute. And I love making evil robots. And you're like a caveman, but you should come work with us. And you ask him, why are you making evil robots that replace people? And he tells you, 'cause it fucking rules, dude. It's the future. And you're like, what? and then you shoot him. Not everybody does, but you should. And you fucking shoot him. And it's the worst.
Yeah.
It's so bad. God damn it. Like, he actually just tells you you're too stupid to understand what the grand plan is.
So now you must kill your son.
No, you don't have to. You can join up, but you're fucking like...
Your son is evil.
He's so evil. He's like... I don't know how to sell this. It feels like they wanted Sims or synths or whatever to replace people and have that be a mechanic because that's cool. And then they got to the part where the big evil has to explain why they're doing it, and they like legitimately could not think of a good enough reason. So the reason is, shut up, it's a grand play, you're too stupid. Like,
yeah, like, that's
like there is no reason. Oh, I forgot, he also has cancer. Right? Okay, Sean also has cancer.
That's some Father Comstock shit.
Like most, I feel like a lot of people were like annoyed by the Fallout 4 plot of save your baby that is like might as well be an object, might as well be a fucking like a paperweight, because it's a baby, it can't even talk to you right, like and it's like a fake video game baby. Like, it's wild because you can easily go take revenge for your loved one as the main plot, which everyone understands, but the main character ignores that part of it. Like, you're not allowed to, like, chase after that part of it. It's about the baby. Gotta save the baby. All the voice-acted dialogue, which was new for Fallout and was obviously a mistake. I gotta get my baby. Right?
No.
And then you get the baby, and I'm like, oh, I don't care about this stupid baby. And I'm like, wow, I was right to not care. This baby sucks.
And, like, none of that is a reference to any other Fallout stuff. No. Or, okay, it's its own... Okay. Well, stories are hard. Writing is difficult.
It's like...
It's hard. It's very, very hard.
It's one of, like, the worst, like, premises I've ever seen to, like, a main...
Yeah.
It's so shit. And it's like,
if you're making a game and it's a really if you're making a game and you have a lot of faith in your game and you're really sure you've got an absolute a hit on your hands, and you know you've got that last second twist, like really examine it from all angles. Talk to a lot of people, you know? Look at that twist. Like, hold it up to the light. Scrutinize that shit.
It's like, it's the same thing we've said in the past about, like, subverting expectations. And it's like, is the twist shittier than nothing?
Because the bad twist means all of the caring you did up to now was stupid and you never should have cared.
Like, the implication...
The journey was pointless.
For Fallout 4, for most of the game, right? The implication for most of the game for Fallout 4 is the reason why Sean must have been taken was because he represents a pristine, pre-war human being without any degradation from the environment or genetics, so that they could use him as a baseline to make more accurate technology, right? That is a completely natural exploration of the original theme, and you could get there and they'd be like, well, we need to keep your kid in this tube to do experiments on him because we need a perfect human, blah, blah, blah. And then you'd be like, no, you guys are jerks. But then they'd be like, but if we keep doing this, we could cure super cancer or whatever, right? You could do a whole fucking branching tree out of it. And that would have been, like, lame, but okay, I guess. And instead, it's like, nah, bitch, I tricked you. You're stupid. You, the player, and the character. You dumb.
And
doesn't
yeah.
matter if you're intelligence 10 on your sheet.
Flush those feelings down the toilet. You know, instead of what you would assume is replace it with rage and betrayal, it's like, no, you just no longer care, and you know, plot across, like trudge across the finish line with a fucking, you know, your engine sputtering out as you do.
It also has a sub problem, which is due to the voice acted dialogue, which is you find the guy that kidnaps your son and kills your wife. And you have 4 dialogue options when you run into him and finally defeat him in a gunfight, so you actually have the ability to talk to him. And all 4 are variations of you screaming, "Where is my son?" And you eventually get like a single detail out of it and then kill him. And like, I had way more questions than that. I had way more questions than that. Okay. Fuck.
In conclusion, everybody, go play 13 Sentinels.
And Ace Combat.
Yes. A masterclass in all of the above.
I don't think in a game that has any player choice in it at all, like storyline, I don't think there's a single worse thing you can have your character mandatorily do other than kill someone without your control. Right? In a game in which you can shoot people at like like I think the absolute worst thing you could possibly do is like have a cutscene where your character shoots somebody and you don't have the ability to stop it.
Right. Yeah.
Like, it's awful.
Yeah.
So that's what I played this week.
A lot, yeah. And anyway, we'll see. Maybe more next week when
God,
a lot of this
PC
wraps up.
version of 13 Sentinels, please.
I mean, for the love of, like, do you guys like money? George, do you like money? If you like money, if you like your hard work being profitable, fucking port the damn thing, man.
Also, shout out to Fallout 4. This is another thing that's not personally annoying to me, but I could immediately see how it'd be totally annoying to many people. In Fallout 4, it's about saving your baby, your newborn baby that you have with your wife or husband, right? Well, in prior Fallout games, you always had the ability, even with a perk selection that gave you a damage buff, to be Black Widow, Shell Shade FM, Confirmed Bachelor, or Lady Killer, depending on your tastes. Right?
Shell Shade FM.
Shell Shade FM. It's the female version of Confirmed Bachelor.
Okay.
Right? So if I play a character in Fallout New Vegas, sometimes I play a Confirmed Bachelor. Not to be gay, but so I get extra dialogue perks or the 5% damage boost against men. Right?
Okay.
What does that do? That does make me a gay character. However, if you wanted to play a canonically gay character, pick these perks, and now you're gay. Now you're a lesbian. Now whatever. Fallout 4?
It's a good damage boost.
Nah, bitch. Your character was married, and they had a baby. And they loved that baby. And they loved their spouse. Like, it's... Obviously, there are gay folks that get married and have children before they come out, whatever, yada, yada. But, like...
They locked so hard.
Is aggressive, you are straight.
Yeah, they took away the options in order to put this story in, which then completely doesn't pay off.
Yeah, and it's like, listen, okay? In Fallout, it has been long established that if you're gay, you have a damage boost. If you're a bisexual, you have a huge damage boost.
Damn. that's and sick.
Fallout 4 took the damage boost away from the gays.
Oh man, can't we get a game where you're creating a character and you've got the like the 3 sliders, you know, you've got your gender, you've got your sexual expression, and you've got your attraction, and like as you slide them up and down, you see resistances increase and decrease. You see bonuses go up and down.
No, I don't want. I think that is.
So you just get
that is a devil's bargain.
Like, yeah, but look at the counter hit damage though. Come on, throw me in there. I'm doing it.
Oh.
Combat buffs. Hell yeah. I'm down. Take the South Park difficulty meter to the next level. Let's let it affect your stats. Let's watch bonus damage.
Katie Scoops points out that if you pick bisexual, you should have dual wielding on default.
Oh, hey, look. Dual wielding on by default. Hey, check this out. I've got poison and toxic resistance. How about that? It's a lot stronger. Huh. Yo, I'm super on board.
Oh, man.
I'm super on board.
Black characters get an extra language. That is fantastic, Pookie.
I got extra...
Yeah, no one's gonna do that. Like, Skyrim was already getting weird.
Hey.
Like, do you know that red guards can run really fast because of their fast twitch muscles?
Well, you know, it's because the thigh muscle, if you look at it, they've got that extra iframe in the thigh muscle that leads to a roll with extra invincibility.
I still think my absolute favorite was that I've ever seen of this type of joke is like Yakuza Like a Dragon meme of like you're looking at something and the point flies over your head, and it's like found family can be much more important than real family, and the point flying over your head is the Chinese are weak to electricity.
What?
Because
the fuck?
The Liu Mang have an electric weakness in that game.
My god.
Because the different enemy groups
have specific resistances.
Are built like RPG monster
types. Oh my god. Yeah, okay. Alright. It's good. It's good. Extra damage. Damn. I'll take that.
Punch like South Americans can shoot electricity.
Sure.
Weebs can double jump. There's a lot of these. Does that mean that Brazil v China on the type chart is just like a super effective
it's a super effect. You got your Pokemon charts out, and now we have a problem. Once you start creating a PvP chart, now once you create a PvP chart,
now created the Time Cube's racial Pokemon super effective chart.
PvE only. Cultures. PvE only. Now we're getting dangerous. We can't be doing that. I'll take my damage buff.
This is why it's a devil's bargain. You want to keep it subtle.
Being gay makes me punch dudes harder, so fucking be it. Let's go. It's one less swing. All right. But anyways. All right. That's why sliders are good. Sliders.
Yeah, this is why sliders are good, and this is why games have gotten away from concepts that lead to a wiki page on the World of Warcraft subreddit called the race tier list.
Yeah.
Hey, guess what? Depending if you want to grind faction rat, humans are S tier.
More sliders, more power. All right.
That's my week. You want to check out more of my crap, you can go to twitch.tv/PatStaresAt. Stream pretty much every weeknight at 7 p.m.
Damn. Like a couple of fucking ballerinas over here. The week on my end is probably going to not include Sifu if we're trying to be honest, because I think these games are going to take a little bit more time. So we're going to be finishing off Bloodborne and Everhood. And depending on how things go, I've been playing, Strive on the weekends, and we've been getting to fighting games going down with biking and such. But one of the things that just came out is Marvel 3 DMC5 Vergil mod has been released, and it's Vergil with the full move set from 5 Special Edition. It's fucking insane.
I bet it is.
It's so dumb busted looking. So I gotta check that out. He's got all 3 styles. He's got all 3 supers. He's got like even the taunt where you're doing the S rank taunt and you're spinning on the fucking, the summon sword. Like all of it. Just a one-man army with that expanded move set.
That's why we need a new Marvel. Not for any new characters. I just want updated versions of the existing
updated move sets. Yeah, exactly. We already got DMC 1 Dante. I hope we get a DMC 5 Dante with the Sin Devil trigger. That'd be amazing. But it would be
enough buttons on a fight stick.
Oh, the move set overhaul would be insane. Like you'd have to completely envision a different character. Yeah. Probably one that like incorporates like not just like a million moves with different inputs, but like some sort of style switch set, Anyway, so I'm going to be probably checking a little bit of that out as well. Come check it out on Wooly Versus on Twitch and on YouTube. Okay, let's take a word from our sponsors.
I'm in a fucking zoo down here, man. I got the cat running around. I got this guy rolling around on his back.
Sounds like you're pretty busy.
I am extremely busy.
Sounds like you could use someone who knows more about healthy eating to give you delicious food so that you can...
mean literally anyone?
Yes. Literally anybody. In this particular case, Green Chef
hey, Green
is the
Chef,
sponsor this week.
Can you help me? I got an orb problem.
Yes, they can. Because, you see, the last time you tried to deal with that on your own, horrible, horrible permanent damage was done.
I ate all the chocolate chips.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Green Chef is a CCOF certified meal kit company that helps you get good, healthy meals fitting into whatever schedule, whatever type of diet you're doing. Balanced meals if you're doing vegan, vegetarian, if you're doing keto, if you're doing paleo, or just regular types of meals. You want the Green Chef in your corner. You deal with the zoo, and they'll deal with getting you the ingredients to make cooking easy. You spend less time dealing with like putting it all together because it's prepackaged, preset. They've got the sauces, the dressings, and all the simple ingredients that you put together to get dinner ready for you. And it's going to be shipped straight to your door. It's also sustainable because it's got 100% of their plastic packaging in every box and 100% of their carbon footprint and emissions offset.
Well, that's nice.
So you don't want to rely on your own lack of talent, skill, and knowledge in the kitchen. Rely on Green Chef.
They'll help you, man.
They'll help you, They can't help you erase the scars of the last time you tried making your own meal, but they can help you by getting you something delicious. There's quite a few good choices to pick from, so be sure to head on down to, excuse me as I get the accurate information here, greenchef.com/superbeast130 and use code superbeast130 to get $130 off plus free shipping. That's greenchef.com/superbeast130 and use code superbeast130 to get $130 off plus free shipping. So, that's the #1 meal kit for eating well. Thank you, Green Chef.
Thanks, Green Chef.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, there's a couple other things I'm looking through.
My email is quickly becoming a nightmare.
Yeah. No, it builds up. Yes, I am to mention that as someone who eats or tries to stay on a keto diet, I have enjoyed the keto selections. It has been very good. on a personal note. There you go.
I'm glad.
Good. I'm glad you have enjoyed that personal note I have shared.
I'm glad that I enjoyed that personal note also, because now I'm happy.
Yes. This week, the podcast is sponsored by Stitch Fix. And Stitch Fix,
what up?
well, you see, the other deal with the orb problem is what you put on top of it.
Well, luckily, I just wear all stretchy pants, so that just solves itself.
Now, that is, I mean, a quote-unquote solution.
Yeah, that works until your dick bursts through the bottom of your pants. You gotta throw them out.
And then what the fuck now, right? Dick's about to burst through the bottom of the pants. Why? Because your shit's trash.
Huge.
Don't do it. It's terrible, right? You're a walking minefield. You're about to step and rip and embarrass yourself, like that one guy in that video.
No, I wouldn't know. There's nothing to be embarrassed about here. It's gigantic.
Okay, well, you know.
But I mean, if you were outside, you'd go to jail. So I mean, be careful of that.
I don't think the world is ready to see the animation as it comes flying from under the orb. You know?
Yeah.
I don't think they're ready to picture that.
Well, you wrap it around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Stitch Fix is here to help you look good by curating some style and inserting it into places where you otherwise wouldn't know what the fuck to do to look good. So, if you're trying to get yourself a little more slick, Stitch Fix, they got style experts, and their basic setup is they're going to send you 5 pieces that fit your style, your size, and your price range. If you don't know how to, you know, just look at your closet and put something together that looks decent, then they got you covered on that. Different occasions as well, sun up, sun down, whatever vibe you're looking for, they can take a look at you and be like, yeah, no, let's help you. If you wanna get yourself from schlub to, I don't know, if you want to be a little more JoJo fashionable, for example, you can let them know that, and they'll curate. You keep what you like, you return the rest for free, or if you prefer to shop but don't want to endlessly browse, then you can check out the Stitch Fix Freestyle option, which is an online shop that's built specifically for you. They've got all kinds of things from flannels to bomber jackets, any items that match your vibe and lifestyle, and it's tailored as well to your tastes. So instead of stabbing in the dark and hoping that whatever looks good on the attractive models will look good on you, why not get some help with that with the experts at Stitch Fix? Get started today by filling out your free style quiz at stitchfix.com/superbeast. Take advantage of free shipping and returns. That's stitchfix.com/superbeast to try Stitch Fix. One more time, stitchfix.com/superbeast. Don't cover the mess on your own. Get some help with that.
Thank you, Stitch Fix.
Thank you. While you're covering the pain and growing it,
Yeah.
you could you also need to keep yourself entertained, and you're probably trying to watch some stuff, you're probably trying to browse and do whatever. Well, ExpressVPN is here because if you're trying to watch the good shit, a lot of the time you're not allowed because you live in the wrong place.
They're going to try and geo-block on you.
It sucks. Terrible. Hate it. Happens to me on a regular basis because that's what happens in Canada. You know, we've grown up knowing neglect. We've grown up knowing that every time someone mentions a brand of chocolate or a brand of like snack, it'll be some American shit that's like, oh yeah, well, we don't have those up here, so whatever. You know, whenever you guys walk into your gas stations and you see like 15 flavors of whatever like drink, we've got like 3. It's just the way it works.
And usually that attitude went over to the internet too. It's a bummer.
Because usually, people just don't want to bother translating a label from English into English and French. So a lot of the time they're like, fuck it, we're staying out of business there. But the internet version of this is dumb because there's no reason for it. You're standing there, but you should still be able to watch whatever you want, wherever you want. So ExpressVPN can help you out with that. Whenever you connect to an unencrypted network in a cafe, a hotel, or an airport, anything like that, it's dangerous. There are people that can jump on the same network and gain access to your personal data. It doesn't take a whole lot of technical knowledge. Anyone with some cheap hardware, like a 12-year-old with some time on their hands, can absolutely get inside your shit. So you want protection from that as well as the ability to, be like, hey, yeah, I'm standing in the UK or Japan. Let me watch the good stuff on my streaming services. ExpressVPN is perfect for that. I know that I use it pretty often, almost every week with like some stuff I want to watch. And you click the button and then you're allowed. That's it. It's real simple. So it works with your phone, your laptops, your tablets, any devices you've got on the go. By all means, secure your online data today by visiting expressvpn.com/superbeast. That's expressvpn.com/superbeast. And you can get an extra 3 months free. expressvpn.com/superbeast. Thanks, ExpressVPN.
Thanks, ExpressVPN.
And last but not least, as you stuff your orb and cover your orb and browse to watch things that you enjoy.
For your orb.
You might have another orb in your life, and that might be somebody that you're thinking about. You got things coming up like Valentine's Day. You got birthdays.
Coming up.
All kinds of meaningful dates that you're probably trying to figure out what to get, what can be personalized. Uncommon Goods is here to help you with a whole giant selection of exactly what their name describes, uncommon goods. There's lots of gifts that are customizable based on the type of person you're shopping for. Some things that are a little more interesting, unique, off the beaten path, and or just like fun stuff if you're looking for games, virtual classes, cooking for two, mixology, map making, whatever your interests. There's a ton of stuff you can browse through that are just, again, a little more unique and fun. And there's a huge selection. I know I was looking through it and I saw a fun game of 3D tic-tac-toe. It's tic-tac-toe played on a 3D plane, so you can go x-axis, y-axis, z-axis. So you can stack diagonals going upwards or across in any direction on essentially a 9x9 grid. It's fun. It's a whole lot of fun. They have stuff like that, for example. I see you stick your head up in the air because you can't picture what it looks like.
No, I'm seeing it. It's a cube, right?
Kinda.
It's a 3x3 cube.
It's like,
I know what a cube looks like.
yeah, well, it's like a couple of poles, and you've got spheres that represent circles, and then you've got wooden X's that represent X's, and then you have to think in 3 dimensions as you place each shape on a given peg.
I could think.
And then as long as none of them line up 3 in a row on your opponent's side, you can keep playing. So it's awesome because if you know the rules of tic-tac-toe, you know how to stop tic-tac-toe from happening and create a stalemate. But the moment you do that, you now have to worry about the extra dimension that you're playing in. So the z-axis creates a whole new dynamic to it. I thought it was pretty fun.
And then a child beats you, and you take it and you throw it to the ground. And you scream.
Correct.
Good job, you did it. Good job, Jimmy.
So to get 15% off your next gift, go to uncommongoods.com/superbeast. That's uncommongoods.com/superbeast for 15% off. Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Uncommon Goods. They're all out of the ordinary. Thanks, Uncommon Goods.
Thanks, Uncommon Goods.
All right.
Hey, we're moving on to news, and we have lots of really excellently good news today. All great news, right, buddy?
Yeah, I got a couple things going on. So, some stuff that was announced today. For example, Platinum Games. The CEO Inaba did an interview with
The new CEO,
the new CEO Inaba, now making Kamiya the vice president. Did an interview with Famitsu, and the translation of the interview basically was emphasizing that they want to take the company in a different direction by creating larger and riskier games. And they appeared to suggest that Project GG could end up being a live service style game. So, in further context, he said that he would like the company to create games that can be enjoyed and loved for a longer period of time compared to those in which players experience a one-off games, such as Bayonetta, for example. This was his desire to create things that are different from in the past. And Project GG is still in the stage of testing things, but they want to focus on things that are different from what they've already done. So things that can be enjoyed over a longer period of time make sense. Of course, they still cherish and want to create small but brilliantly conceived games like Soul Cresta. But the projects they're trying to create in terms of structure, considering how the market has changed over the next 5 years or so, I think it's absolutely necessary for us to do this. But that's all I can tell you right now. So that is, if you think about everything Platinum has announced, like, over the years, it has been clearly on a path towards, like, we need money. We need to keep the lights on. We need to do things to keep the lights on.
We make great games that no one buys.
So we started out just making those games, and that was it. And a publisher would come along and pay us to do it. Then that hired gun aspect became, something that was discussed and emphasized more frequently, where it's like, yep, what do you need? Korra? You need Transformers? We're here. We'll do it. You gotta do what you can to keep the studio going. It creates a huge fan base that loves each of these action games, but if they don't sell enough to, keep them developing another one with their heads down for a couple years at a time, or such as like the gap between Bayonetta 2 and now, for example, then you see shit like this happen, or the Scalebound cancellation, etc. So now, this isn't surprising, I don't inherently take it as a negative, because if what they make is cool, then that's good. I personally like small experiences, but if it's not financially sustainable, what the fuck are you supposed to say, right?
And don't worry, everyone, you can get a sneak peek of this business plan with the upcoming Babylon's Fall, which looks like complete garbage.
So he didn't mention Babylon's Fall in this as much as he was talking about Project GG, which was the finale to the superhero trilogy. I mean, yeah, Babylon's Fall is the collaboration game versus their own IP, I suppose. So, I'm hoping for the best.
Platinum is a company made up of developers who left Capcom because they were unhappy that they were not able to make the kinds of games for Capcom that were incredible and fantastic and didn't sell any copies. So they went on to make a company called Platinum, where they could make excellent games that wouldn't sell any copies. And they made a lot of those, and they would take work for hire contracts all the time. And they said, wow, work for hire fucking sucks shit. Scalebound got canceled. Almost tanked the company. They got fucking booted for Grand Blue Fantasy Relink for a reason I don't think we will ever find out. Right? They're working on Babylon's Fall, which is a different work for hire. It looks like shit. I can't imagine they're happy with how shit it looks. And then they continue to make their excellent action games that don't sell, like Astral Chain.
But they've got
And
their successes like Revengeance, where they come in and do some and take
yeah.
an IP. You know.
So they've had this frustrating thing where they make these smaller games that don't do so good and represent like treading water. And they're like, we want to make games that actually make us money, like live service games. And I'm staring at a company that is moving from making indie games and goes, you know what, we should make the next World of Warcraft. What could go wrong? So Platinum's going to put out a live service game, and they're going to be all hands on deck for this live service game. And if it's anything other than a smash hit, that company will fucking dissolve because they have no ability to take any hits at all.
So that was more or less laid out, because the quotes go on to say, yes, I want to return to the original ethos. If we can no longer create new ways to play, there's no reason for us to exist, etc. In the past, if we wanted to create our own IP, it was difficult to do so, and even if we could, it would be on a very small scale. We could only make indie-class products. In the future...
So do that!
In the future, I would like to get rid of all of that and make larger games from ideas and succeed in at least one thing. So the way he phrases succeed in at least one thing, it sounds as if they're like, we're going to take some swings, big swings, and they're going to hurt, but we think we can land one of them, and that one will bankroll the company for the rest of whatever else we want to work on.
I play a lot of long-time service games, right? I try them out regularly. I feel like I can speak with some expertise. I've played Destiny. I just started playing Path of Exile. I've played MMOs, etc. They're hard. They're really, really hard. They are the hardest game to make by an order of magnitude. And Platinum has zero experience about it.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot possibly expect this going anything other than a disaster.
Unless they're consulting with somebody that knows what the fuck they're doing, you're going to find out the hard way. Thing is from his perspective and from what he's saying here, it's like the thing we've been doing is already killing us. We have to try something else.
Like, my favorite live service game was so bad upon release it almost killed its parent company, and that parent company was Square Enix.
Mm-hmm.
My other favorite live service game, Destiny 2, is simultaneously a great game and I think the game I hate most in this world. And every time it comes up, I get so mad I almost piss myself. I hate it. I hate it.
So when you see them capable of things like Revengeance and Nier Automata, it becomes clear that this should be a company you can turn to take whatever IP you want and turn it into like some of the best fucking combat action period in the entire industry. The thing is that like over the course of this last decade, that stuff has not been cutting it, and it's not been doing enough for them, I suppose, as opposed to say a company like Arc System Works, who's been grabbing IPs left and right and turning whatever you want into a fucking anime fighting game, you know? And I feel as if Platinum would like to be in that situation. There was a, you know, that phase of their life where they were doing more of it. But if what they're doing, if they're looking at the smaller games and saying like none of this is leading to a profit and we're not getting enough like Konami's and Square Enix's to come along and ask us to make a cool action game in their world, then what are we supposed to do? And while a live service game sounds like an insanely risky proposition, I get that changing course in some way makes sense.
It's just so frustrating to me because like I'm watching the company probably kill itself.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is them loading the bullet,
mm-hmm.
and the actual possible solution for the problem is stated by the CEO in the interview, which is, well, if we wanted to make only our IP and, you know, be self-sufficient, we would just have to put out a bunch of indie style games, which, if they were able to reach some form of success with that, would probably be literally the best outcome.
I think the ellipses is trailing off the part where he's saying, like, and that's not enough. You know? Like,
Shrug.
if we wanted to create our own IP, it would be difficult to do so, and even if we could, it would be on a very small scale, ... We could only make indie class products. And then moves on to the rest of it. Like, I think,
you know what this is?
The sustainability question is still up in the air on that.
You know what this feels like?
Mm-hmm.
Man, I'm getting beat up at this roulette table. All in on red!
All in on green?
Yeah. But, like...
Mm-hmm. I think the solution is for there to be more like Nier Automatas and Revengeances, in the way that there's your Dragon Ball Fighters and your, you know, and not even to just ArcSys, but like also like CyberConnect, who also got like shafted on some projects, but like still generally get pulled in enough to collaborate on things. I think that's the kind of spot they want to be in, and I think they were in that spot, but you know, perhaps Scalebound's cancellation led to a deficit that they never quite recovered from completely.
Oh, very likely.
They bounced back to surface level, and they were treading water, and they were about to shut down. They didn't, but the buffer they had pre-Scalebound and now post-cancellation is completely gone. So they have to do something drastic. You know, and if people are not hiring them at the rate that like they deserve to be, unfortunately, then.
So I should point out, and shout out to a gentleman in the chat who pointed it out for me. So thanks, man.
Mm-hmm.
This is literally how Warframe got started.
Mm-hmm.
Digital Extremes was stuck making work-for-hire license garbage, and they said, "Well, we're gonna go under. Let's just make our dream game Warframe, and see how it does." And then Warframe ended up being enough of a success to carry that company. And Digital Extremes made garbage before that. So, you know, Platinum makes good games. Maybe there's a possibility. I don't think the state of video games allows for the multiple years of trash fire that old live service games got to go through.
I would hope that like they could get attached to an ongoing, long-term, healthy franchise, you know. I don't know if what's up.
I have a great idea.
Go back to Capcom.
Capcom just got a bunch of money. They should just buy Platinum and make.
That's where I was going. I was like
middle tree.
I was thinking, I was like, do you think that conversation, no matter how awkward it might be, could still occur, where it's like, okay, the return of Seeds, the return of Clover, you know? Could be. But here's the thing. That would have to come after the failure of not just Babylon's Fall, but let's say Project GG.
Yeah.
Right? Because Babylon's Fall, I think, we're looking at it. It's here. It's what it is. GG is the thing they're really pushing. And if that just fucking fish flops onto the ground, then you're going to probably start hearing conversations in that direction. Or you won't hear them, but those conversations will start happening. And it wouldn't be the worst outcome. It would be, you know, them working on shit that they could excel at. But I mean, if Project GG is the big gamble, and if it pays off, and everything's fucking hot, and we're now the GG company, you know, then yay on Platinum. Then they can stay alive. But they're treading water, and they're in a desperate situation. So I see them making desperate decisions. You know,
looking forward to Platinum being bought by Sony in about 4 years.
Hell, you say that, it might even be sooner, because
Much.
over at Sony, Jim Ryan straight up says, absolutely expect more acquisitions.
Yep. More's coming down the pipe.
As it would.
We're in the buy-up war.
Now, never mind the part where they specify that the Bungie deal was in the works for the past 5 or 6 months and is not a reaction to the recently announced Activision Blizzard acquisition.
That's a ridiculous idea that that these companies are getting bought like out of spite. Like, these deals take forever.
But one thing that you can look at is, as this acquisition goes through, and then they see that the shift of the industry with Activision Blizzard, you can't be done at this point. There's more to do, because you're divvying up the industry into lefts and rights. You know, like, yeah. So, everyone is going to be putting on their prettiest dress if they want to get bought out in the next couple months to years, and yeah, the landscape expected to continue to change. Sony
is a great time to start an indie company and make one pretty good hit, and then put a buy me sign on.
You could do that. At the same time, a company like Supergiant, I don't want them. Mm-hmm. I don't want them bought. I want them to just make the good shit they make on their own. But
I think they also want that.
Yeah. Well, meanwhile, as Sony says that, and Microsoft does what it does, Nintendo has responded to Acquisition Wars 2022.
I'd like to point out something about the Sony thing before we move on. The most interesting thing about the Sony buyout of Bungie, it's come out that they are offering an average of $1.2 million per employee as incentive to not quit their jobs after the buyout. So talent drain after buyouts totally happens. And they're offering basically a cool $1 million to everybody who works there to stay.
Keep it. Mm-hmm.
Which is fucking nuts.
Yep. That is a aggressive desire to not see anything change.
And all I can feel in my heart is like bitterness and anger that the guy who fucked up my perfect paradox got $1 million for it as a reward. You fucking motherfuckers.
What was that?
My perfect paradox. It's a shotgun that I got that they ruined.
Okay. Well,
fuck that guy.
The person that made the thing you really like also got one too. So.
Yeah, well, the guy who made sure that the thing I really like isn't playable anymore got one also.
Yeah. But there's also the person who made the thing you like.
I don't.
Anyway. You don't care. Okay. Well, Nintendo chimed in to say, after, of course, their investors would be super curious about what they are going to do in response to all this. They said Nintendo is not all that interested in acquiring companies. They're interested in buying. Not. They're interested in buying developers if it's absolutely necessary. And, they're not telling their investors that under no circumstances will we do this. But the quote is, our brand was built upon products crafted with dedication by our employees. Having a large number of people who don't possess Nintendo DNA in our group would not be a plus to the company. So they would not acquire anything more than what was necessary. And if they did, it would need to be a company that they felt had Nintendo DNA.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that is the way they've done it. I mean, yeah, like Next Level was the last group, and that's exactly it. It's like Nintendo basically grooms these companies for years to, do their style and to work in their methods. And like once they're like, okay, we can treat you like a branch of we do our internal offices, then here you go. It is on brand with how they've handled.
Yeah, 100%.
They're the company for years now. So, but the main thing is you can't tell your investors like, hey, no, under no circumstances. You know, you have to give some kind of answer there. So, that is their response to the acquisition wars. In the meantime, Quiet Player.
Nintendo just wants to keep the blood pure.
The old blood.
They don't want to. They don't want to go outside the family.
Yeah, man.
You have to have Nintendo DNA.
The Hanafuda card blood, you know? And it only gets stronger as we keep it in the generation.
God.
In the meantime, of course, these are not the only players in this industry, because the dark horse of the current generation, the Stadia, has something to say.
And that something is a death rattle.
By something, it's more of a noise and less of a statement.
It's its father's shotgun locking and loading as it's being led to the back, while the new, nicer dog is in front.
Now hold on there, Stadians, before you start panicking. Understand that this is a rumor, but it's a report that's coming in by Business Insider that are basically saying that Stadia internally has been demoted by Google.
What?
Based on its disappointing sales and performance so far, not reaching expectations. The entire Stadia service is being deprioritized. However, the plan is to focus on lucrative deals with other companies to create experiences for them directly using the technology, which will then be called Google Stream. So reportedly, the whole thing is just going to be called Google Stream, and it'll be used as just another service app that Google offers, which, to be perfectly fucking honest, is, I believe, what we said it should have been to begin with. Just a thing from the labs that exists instead of some attempt at like competing and getting publishers into to this platform and somehow thinking you're going to exist in this space while Gene can put videos up of the space bar causing a jump 2 seconds later. It's now returning from whence it came. And there are the reports saying that about 20% of the focus left at Stadia is going to be on the gaming side, while the remainder will be refocused at corporate integration.
Refocused is a great word, isn't it?
Uh-huh. Remember Google Glass?
No.
That was when Google basically announced Saiyan Scouters.
Yeah.
For Planet Earth.
Everyone's going to have these.
And everyone went, no,
I'm not
we're
wearing
not.
that shit. Not going to do that.
And they went, but we already made them. And everyone was like, yeah, no. So then they went, hey, companies, can we sell you these to use inside your warehouses at a localized level for your inventory and shit? And they're like, sure. So that's how Google Glass was saved.
You know what's wild to me?
Mm-hmm.
Like every single piece of eyeball technology ever, like Google Glass and the VR and all that, like they will, until we are at a pair of sunglasses you put on your fucking face, the average person is just never going to buy in, because that has been the assumption for decades in popular science fiction of how every single one of those pieces of technology works.
And
like
and while
the VR headset is so much heavier than just a pair of sunglasses.
And while one person out of like a group of 50 is super down for some really weird looking eyewear that's goofy looking, the other 49 are like, no, I don't want that on my face unless it just looks normal. So yeah, until you get it looking like a pair of Oakleys, it ain't fucking happening.
Or like maybe a cool robot pair of Oakley, like whatever.
And
Because
fuck out
I
of
don't know
here.
if you've ever seen a human being using a Google Glass. You look like an asshole.
It's a Saiyan Scouter. It's
It's
completely
specifically the look people do as they like look into space to focus on the holy shit.
There's also the part where like, people walking and looking at what is. I mean, phones are cameras anyway, but at least they're not always pointed in your direction.
Yeah.
Versus like someone who has one on, and then how everyone will see that and be like, "Oh God, I'm on camera."
Yeah. This is why this is also Google Glass had a specifically awful what's the word association for huge nerds who watched the original Star Trek, the TNG. Because it literally looks exactly like one half of the evil technology used in the episode The Game, where they brainwash everyone on the ship and it's a Romulan mind control device.
Okay.
Let me get a photo of this fucking thing. Yeah, here's a fucking photo of the fucking techno thing from The Game.
Okay, just a bunch of
and it blasts light into your eyes just like Google Glass did.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, there's some stuff that is Black Mirror as fuck and is happening, but there's other stuff that like is not, like, the world will not just accept just yet. And I feel like the Saiyan Scouters, even on just design level, are still not ready for social integration in a way that people will willingly accept. But
I ironically think that a full-on Saiyan Scouter would have been way more socially acceptable to the average person than what Google Glass was.
But that being said, we live in an era where you can just force it, and if a bunch of people adopt it and make it a thing, then it'll be made a thing. You can brute force shit that people are aversive to. Anyways, other stuff going on, video games. So, we finally got to take a look at Ghostwire Tokyo. Did you see the video?
Yeah, it looks hot.
Looks pretty fucking sick, man.
Looks like it used to be Evil Within 3. And then I looked it up, and it was.
Okay. A whole first person, a whole lot of, whenever I see hands moving like that in first person, I think of like the darkness. I think of that mage game.
That couldn't be vaguer.
There's a game where you are a first person mage and you cast spells in first person.
Wooly, I can't even get across to you how little that narrows it down.
I think
like Skyrim looks like that.
Is
if you cast a magic.
Hold on a second.
Are you talking about Skyrim?
No, I'm not.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm sure. And Hexen is probably the better example anyway. But there's a game, and I think I said mage because I'm pretty sure mage is in the title, or magus, or make.
Is it Dishonored?
It is not Dishonored. It's less popular than that. Is it Battle Mage? Is that the name of this? No.
Are you talking about Arx Fatalis?
Okay, we can't do this. We can't do this.
Well, it's one of those things. It's like if you offered up a single extra detail, we could probably nail it down in a second. But
I mean, it was a game that was first person, and you saw the hands doing lots of gestures as they were casting spells in the game. That's all I got from it, because I saw.
Was it on the 360?
A gameplay reveal. I think it's just PC.
Just PC?
I think so. Oh boy. Oh boy.
It's either Arx Fatalis or Dark Messiah. or Lictum Battle Mage?
I think it's Battle Mage.
Let's take a look.
I'm going to the page for it now, and yes,
This is
dumb.
Like
this is
This
dumb.
is like when I'm talking to Paige and she's like, "Do you know that movie with the
Yeah.
guy?"
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
"You
It's Battle
haven't given
Mage.
me anything."
It's Battle Mage. It's Battle Mage. The thing is, the word mage was, I thought mage was like in the title or like was the name of the game. Like, so that's why I just said like, oh yeah, like that first person like mage game. But like, yes, the word mage is in the title. It's Lictum Battle Mage. Yes. In fact, I think when it was first announced, it might have just been called Battle Mage, but that's the one. Anyway, Ghostwire Tokyo looks really cool.
Are you talking about BioShock? I know you played that, and you shoot lightning at your hand.
You do shoot lightning at your hands, but you don't do fancy seals as you do it.
Yeah.
Your hand just shakes and then shoots forward like Palpatine.
Yeah, no, the Ghostwire stuff, it looks really, looks like a replacement for first-person shooting, so it's interesting. But then when you wire people up and he starts, like, cats cradling the wire on ghosts, it's cool.
Yeah. Liched him? Did I say licked him? Liched him. All right.
I said licked him.
Okay. Licked him. You hardly know him.
Boo!
You can do a whole lot of, what's it called? Talisman shit? You know the talisman shit when you pull out a piece of paper and then the ghosts in Japan are like, oh, fuck, he's got a piece of paper.
You wrote the word lightning on that. Oh, shit.
Go away on a piece of paper. No! And then you stuck it on the door, and now we can't fucking leave. Like, it's kind of something else, but yeah, no, I like all that fancy stuff. The monsters look proper creepy and nerving. And I was surprised to see like a whole lot of above city traversal shit going on with the Tengu.
Yeah, it's really it's a lot different than what I thought it was going to be. It looks really cool.
And I assume we're looking at another hyper accurate Tokyo recreation.
It looks so much like a Yakuza game that the mini map looks like a Yakuza mini map.
But the problem
is weird.
But the problem is that's just making Tokyo. You know, like Yakuza gets that fucking.
Okay, the reason why I say that is specifically the mini map looks just like the one from Yakuza.
But when they were fighting out on the street and we're looking at like this everything in the environment with that level of detail, you're like, no, this is another accurate Tokyo recreation.
Wooly, this is a game made for you. This is a game in which you play a character in Japan who calls out ghosts.
Yeah. Wish it was third person, but that's fine. It looks cool. I like
so. Let me tell you what the fucking sequence of events for that is. Evil Within 1 comes out and it's kind of a mess, but it's in widescreen and that's a performance thing. Evil Within 2 comes out and it's way better. Halfway through Evil Within 2's lifespan, they decide to incorporate the first person mod as an official toggle in that game and support it completely. And then this game that was supposed to be Evil Within 3, but then got changed early on in development to be a more broad topic, is suddenly in first person because you have all sorts of cool hand moves.
Wasn't there DLC for Evil Within 2 that was first person?
No, there was DLC for Evil Within 1 that was first person.
Okay, that's what I'm thinking of then, yeah.
So, like, Evil Within 3 was probably going to take place in Tokyo.
Okay.
Right? And all the ghosts. And then they decide to make it first person, and then now that it's first person, why not instead of guns we have fancy hand moves?
Absolutely, which is much more Tokyo thematically appropriate. Yeah, no, I have observed the ghosts, and I have seen what I would deem to be a couple of BNGs in that list. You know,
what's that?
Just it's a classification, kind of like you know, when you get into paranormal stuff, you classify different types of encounters. I'd say some of those enemies
So
fit in nicely.
I feel like bamboozled watching that trailer because like there you see a bunch of ghosts, right? And one of the ghosts is just Slender Man.
With
And
an
I'm like,
umbrella.
wow. And I'm like, wait, is that an existing Japanese yokai? A businessman with no face? And then I see
Sadako.
then I see Sadako, right? Then I see a tall lady all in white with a white brimmed hat.
Mm-hmm.
And the one that
And
really
shears.
got me is I saw a kid in a raincoat that covered their whole face with big glowing eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh man, they've just been fooling us by using common ghosts for our video game villains. I didn't know the killer from Deadly Premonition was just like a regular ass ghost.
I mean, I don't even know what to make of the, like, headless people. You know? Like, there's people that have limbs but no actual head sticking out. Just a clothing. But if, if they're working on, like, some interesting yokai designs, that's cool. That's cool.
I still think the scariest ghost of all, and I don't remember what country it's from. Hold on, let me
asshole eyeball.
Ghost with asshole eyeball? What?
There's a yokai with an asshole with an eyeball right in the middle of of that.
Mm-hmm.
And he crawls around looking at you with his asshole eyeball.
All
but
right.
There's the hair demon that opens up its guts. The hair lady.
Okay. Well, I'm thinking of it's a Thai and Cambodian ghost, and in Laos, and Indonesia, and Malaysia, Brunei, and Singapore.
Yeah.
It is the Krasu, depending on your region, and it is a regular lady.
Mm-hmm.
And then her head.
Yep.
And then just intestines all the way down.
That's the one I'm talking about.
That's the whole ghost.
I first saw that in Indivisible, I think. It was pretty fucking wild. Yeah. They float around and then it just it unzips its front body and shows you what's inside.
Like fucking good job whoever thought of that fucking shit.
Guys, what's the name of the demon in SMT that is the demon lady that has two halves and she has her hand resting on her butt? You need to see this thing. It's fucking yeah, okay. Mananagal.
I don't think I've ever seen this.
So this shows up in SMT5, and the version specifically. Here we go. I'm gonna send you the one from that game. It's a demon lady, and
cool.
She's cut in half, but on closer observation, the bottom half of her torso, which is like her butt, the front side of it has a mouth and teeth sticking out of it, and the reason for the shape of that tongue is because, according to her lore, that's the part of the body that reaches into pregnant women and eats their babies from inside of them. Cool. Now that's a fucking demon.
All right.
Yeah. She's also weak to light magic.
I bet.
Pretty strong with force.
All right. Well, maybe we'll fight her in Ghost Tokyo Wire. What the fuck is the Ghostwire Tokyo?
So that is happening. A couple other things. So yeah, we talked about the mods coming to Marvel 3. Another mod that was announced this week with a cool trailer was the Dark Souls 3 Blades of Ashina. We took weapons from Sekiro and just put them in Dark Souls 3. Also, we took full-on boss weapons and put boss movesets on your character in Dark Souls 3 as well. So
that seems like it will bust that shit open.
Yeah, there are shots of like there's shots of the fucking MC doing Genichiro's lightning combos in midair, and like a normal Dark Souls enemy just standing there going, I don't know how to deal with this. You know? It's crazy how much they stand out as overpowered weapons just for their mobility in the move list alone. You know, much less getting into the crazy jumps and aerial shit. But the trailer looks pretty dope.
This is... Oh, you can do the Sword Saint spear moves with
all
the
of
gun?
it. All of it.
Oh,
all
come
of it.
on. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, gotta get these Dark Souls mods out right now.
You have a time limit. We're gonna stop caring in literally 1 month's time. Yeah. The parry umbrella, you know, all of that shit, like all the tools as well, adding a ridiculous level of mobility. It's completely unfair. But anyway, it looks really cool. Check it out. Blades of Ashina mod. You know what it looks like? It's like when you play with like a hyper character in a normal fighting game. Like when you play like hyper mode Ryu shooting beams and fucking floating through the air with his Tatsus against people that can just do like basic ass cannon drills. Incredible. Also, in FromSoft modding community news, there was a tweet put out by Lance McDonald, who has a channel that dives into like the files and stuff that is, you know, stuff that's data mined when it comes to FromSoft games. And
all that zany shit.
And he's saying Bluepoint added a number of new items in Demon's Souls Remake that still remain undiscovered.
Really?
And that there have been 4 identified, but no idea how to actually get to them or whether you can even access them in the game.
I mean, they might not be accessible.
They might not be. The last time they updated the game was in 2020, so it's well been over a year since they've touched it. But he's identified 4 undiscovered items and what they're called, but that hasn't been released yet. So, who the fuck knows? You know, if that's anything significant, if one of them is a soul vessel, that'd be really fucking interesting.
Hopefully one of them will be the ability to delete a specific character.
That would be a better version of that, sure.
I can't believe you can't delete characters in Demon's Souls. It's so annoying.
Adding respec, though. Like,
that'd be good. That's
the thing. That's what I'm hoping for. Anyway, yeah. So some digging has shown some secrets. It might just be deleted stuff, though, you know. We shall see.
You got the Dark Souls, the Elden Ring stuff in there as well for the modding?
Yeah. So, well, what I have is that a new feature that people are tracking down here is called fates are in the combat system now.
Oh, I didn't mean that. I meant the anti-cheat stuff.
Oh, yeah, okay, no, yeah, that they're okay. Well, blah. Just this thing. So what's the deal with feints?
So it looks like feints are just so in your standard Dark Souls game. If you had like a curved sword usually and hit forward and your attack button, instead of doing a kick, you would do a slash and then you would like backdash out of it, and it was just a custom animation for those specific things. People fucking around with the beta test, sorry, the network test, in their free time because they're crying, have discovered that if you hold R2 for like a charging attack and then immediately hit circle to do a backdash, you'll do a backflip or stabbing backdash, and it'll act as a feint. So you can cancel out of any charged R2 attack with a backdash, which makes backdashing way better.
So is it a bit like the forward R1 with a rapier? Where the retreating attack? Yeah? Okay.
Yeah. And it appears to just be for everything.
I mean,
that was at least more weapons than usual.
That was a cool thing for a specific move. So, yeah, making that universal is pretty sick. Okay. Yeah, that was posted about a little earlier this week as well. I'm watching a video on it, and I'm seeing some fucking like sword swing cancels into a cartwheel backwards, you know, with like a dex weapon.
Got stuff.
PvP is gonna get fucking fancy. That looks really cool.
Yeah, unless it's got the same network functionality as the prior games, at which point it'll still be the fucking mess that it always is.
Yeah. Oh wow, sorry. You can do it off of both all attacks. Okay. So the other news with Elden Ring is they announced that Easy Anti-Cheat is going to be the system in place to fight against online cheaters.
So I'm torn. I'm really torn. Because I think they should probably do more to stop cheaters than their existing stuff. Because
which is nothing.
They ban you for somebody hacking on you.
Sure, usually. But wait for the fans to come up with a better defense system against hackers is the current solution, which is horseshit. Fuck that.
That sucks. On the other hand, Easy Anti-Cheat fucking sucks. And also means that you'll flag it if you mod the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I seriously doubt it will stop anyone. So, the thought is appreciated, but I don't think this is going to do anything other than give themselves some more work to do.
Yeah, is it kernel level? No. Okay. Well, yeah.
Oh my god. That's why they're using Easy Anti-Cheat. Because in June of 2021, Epic made it free to put in your game.
Okay. Well, yeah. Because that's the Fortnite route. And they mentioned the other bigger games using it as well, Apex, For Honor, Rust, etc. Yeah, sure. I don't know, dude. It that does suck. The fact that the modding has these extra hurdles to jump through, the risk of illegitimate bans, that's all terrible. But someone connecting to your game and fucking killing your save file, or worse, possibly now, fucking running remote code. It's
remote code thing. There's no way that's going to be in the game.
Yeah, so it's just between these two evils, which is worse?
So here's what's going to happen. It's going to be the same exact thing that happens with Dark Souls 3. Unless you are very lucky and extraordinarily careful, if you actively play these games online or mod them, you'll get banned. And then you'll go to the ban servers where everybody who's really into these games plays with their modded games. like people, anybody who wants to play Cinders online, they're playing on the ban server or the ban list, and like it feels sometimes like the ban list has more people in it than the real one over time.
I mean, I imagine it would depend on which game.
Well, when I say over time, because as the people who are still playing these games online are the ones that are really dedicated and more likely to have gotten cheat fucked or modded the game themselves, right?
Every one of these stories, dude, all it does for me is just go, yep, console. That's all.
For me, all it does is PC and only with friends.
Okay. It cements my console fucking decision for this. I just don't want to deal with it.
Like, I got all my PvP needs out of my system with Dark Souls 2 and 3. And I don't care about like, now that they have like NPCs that are non-humans that can help you, like I don't give a shit. I'll just play it offline. I don't care. Well, no, I won't play it offline. I'll play it online, but with like, you know,
limited group. Yeah. I mean, I'm like, and I'm sure some cool mods will come along down the line, at which point, if something unbelievable shows up, then perhaps I can, you know, jump in to just get that type of thing going. But for the immediate like launch life cycle of this game, I see no problem just doing it through console, avoiding remote code problems, avoiding any of this anti-cheat shit, and just, yeah, I don't want to think about any of this, you know. PC is getting the worst of it right now with FromSoft games, and furthermore,
hold on. In terms of the online,
in terms of the online,
the best in terms of performance,
everything
and
else,
actual looks,
yes. But like, you know, there was an update to the RCE story where they basically had like what looks like another version of that issue, which was also sent there from Soft's way from as early as 2020. So like, or 2019 rather. So like, as of like 2 years ago, they were also alerted to a similar issue, but then did nothing as well. So, you know, it's not much, but it's just another thing of like, yeah, they're not responding to individual heads ups about massively, you know, S-class issues. They're just responding to the public outrage once something like that hits the wild or gets demonstrated via the person who discovered it, you know. The servers are still down, you know. I'm still making my way through Scholar, and yeah, it's been down since then, and it has stayed that way.
Bummer.
Anyway, Elden Ring anti-cheat, that's just going down, and then yeah, the only other thing was some news about the Tomorrow Children. So
really?
Yeah. So I don't know if you caught it, but it's getting relaunched, and it's a complete overhaul. So they're switching to P2P servers to keep costs lower. They're removing the free-to-play model, and they're focusing on more normal progression in the game. And they're going to relaunch at the end of 2022 because essentially they've managed to do something extremely rare, which is get the IP back from Sony, and they now have control of it again. So the Tomorrow Children, for anyone that remembers that from a while ago, was launched, and that was Q Games had made this game, and then Sony bought it and launched it, and then killed it within about 6 months. And it was originally a free-to-play, you know, and like, so using Sony servers for online, a game that just by not seeing any interest within, you know, weeks, they were already just like on the way out. So it didn't last a year. So yeah, they worked over the last couple years since 2016 to reacquire the rights to the game, and now they're putting it back out as a cheaper and more normal B2P.
And I don't know a goddamn thing about the Tomorrow Children.
The trailer had a bunch of interesting kind of like propaganda, war, children imagery, where it's like resource management, where you're like working on factories and
It's very communist aesthetic, right?
yeah, exactly, creating weapons, contributing to the war effort as the children. Sorry if you happen to not see it. It's a resource management style game, and building a town out, and seemed pretty interesting in the aesthetic at the very least. I never checked it out, but I was like, oh yeah, that seems like there's something fun going on with the design at least. But yeah, it's just an unusual thing. But this is dropping later this year as well. I like the idea on a larger level with the story. I like the idea of like a game that might be fun, but was converted into live service and then killed for the lack of enthusiasm, could then be salvaged and turned into something else. That's encouraging. Because a good idea doesn't have to go out and die on the vine without ever being salvaged for what it could have been, if this is an example of that.
I don't think I've ever heard a single human being actually talk about Jump Force, God, about Tomorrow Children before you did just now.
Someone was talking about it to me like a while ago. I forget who, but yeah. Anyway, it's
I have a feeling that game's gonna die again.
Perhaps, but again, I like that. Like anyway, it has a better shot when it doesn't. It's not fucking, hung up with all the problems it had before. So, 6 months to death is like not a model that any developer wants their game to have when it comes to like, yeah, sure, we get the funding here, but then do you really want to have like literally half a year to prove it's worth anything? Anyway, that is the deal. We can take some letters.
Wait, there's more news.
Okay.
There's 2 pieces of news we didn't cover.
What's up?
1, today is Monday, February 7th, 6:46 p.m. as I say this. If you're watching this live, you have 1 hour and 14 minutes to go to buy Jump Force before the game is literally killed forever.
Hot off the fucking presses, Jump Force rip.
Yeah,
wow.
They're gonna kill it. It's gonna not be sold anymore because licenses.
Well, I thought it was because Sega hired that man.
Yeah, whatever. So best fighting game nominee gonna be right. and then I
gotta buy that for archival purposes. So
yeah, and then the second piece of news is that Saudi Arabia just bought a huge part of Capcom.
Yes,
5% stake in Capcom.
So this one, let me get the report there. 5%, not just Capcom, a couple other companies as well.
It was their public trust diversification of investment funds. It's basically try to diversify their monies outside of oil.
Yes, and that seems like, anything game industry, like with the SNK stuff, is just the tip of the iceberg. They're going to be likely getting involved at a smaller level in multiple companies. There was a good... Shit, I lost the tweet. Fuck. Okay. Well, anyway, there was a post about this, and there's a couple other companies. Yeah, Nexon as well involved in the deal. It is worth 1 billion overall with the different companies that they're buying that stake in. Which then led to, I believe, some people pointing out the different Capcom stakeholders, of which there's, I think, one Japanese family that has like 20% or so. And I hate, like, I don't want to just regurgitate shit that I don't fucking fully know here, but I saw someone indicate that, like, there's some sort of limit to how much certain Japanese companies can be owned by non-Japanese shareholders.
That sounds about right.
So there's an upper limit on takeovers, it would seem, but it doesn't apply to all companies, right? It applies to certain essential core Japanese companies or something along those lines. So there's some sort of legal background in that's interfacing with this news. Yeah. Yep. It's part of the acquisitions things as well. Public investment fund set to be worth $500 billion. An important part of MBS's Vision 2030, and 5% stake in Capcom and Nexon.
So that's Capcom, Nexon, Activision Blizzard, Electronic Arts, Take-Two, ESL, Faceit, and SNK. In terms of investments,
yes,
by either the Crown Prince directly or the government.
Yeah. I want to see as well, because I remember that there was a thing that was describing, there was an article describing that, like, some of the fund goes through another company that's a Chinese company that owns quite a few as well on their own, that are not necessarily directly coming from his fund. So this gets a little bit messy when you start looking into the intermediary companies.
Don't worry, Tencent will make sure they don't do anything too crazy.
But yeah, I don't know. That's pretty much all I had to see. That's all I saw about it, according to.
All right, now let's get to some emails. You want to send it an email? Go ahead and send the email to castlesuperbeastmail@gmail.com.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh shit! No! Oh no! Somebody reminded me of an even bigger piece of news. The Star Citizen roadmap has been deleted because it's too hard.
What?
Okay, so Star Citizen finally put out a roadmap about features, but like 80% of the roadmap would be wrong every time. So they said that we're going to just focus on the next thing that's coming out, so they deleted the roadmap.
What was the last story you brought on that? I don't remember.
Star Citizen?
Yeah.
It's not out yet. That's the story.
I thought, yeah, wasn't it just like they took money and then ran?
Yeah, they took money.
Okay.
That's the story every time.
Okay.
I think the Star Citizen situation was dramatically summed up by a comment I saw the other day, in that they described their middle school friends had made fun of them for not donating money to what was going to be the best game ever, and I am now finishing grad school and the game is still not out.
Yeah.
Like,
oh, here we go. Here's a little. Here, wholesome.
Yeah.
Time to switch over to wholesome.
Yeah, let's wholesome it.
Yacht Club announced a new game, Mina the Hollower, straight to Kickstarter, and immediately fulfilled its goals.
Hooray!
Super instantly right away. And you're
a
cute little mouse, and you're on a little mouse adventure, and it looks great. Yay.
Hooray.
Unfortunate name for the company, given the way Google trends and metrics work.
Yeah, well.
Because now when you search for Yacht Club, you gotta scroll through some bullshit for a while to find out the latest.
I mean, you did before, actually. 'Cause
yeah, but now even more so. Unfortunate. Real unfortunate. But yeah, congratulations to the fine folks over at Yacht Club with Mina the Hollower. And, yeah, congrats on fucking destroying the goal by going 3 times overfunded within the first day.
Hooray.
It's almost like people have faith that their game is going to be really good.
Wow, Platinum, maybe you should do that.
I'm kind of surprised that they went back to Kickstarter after establishing themselves.
I'm also surprised by that.
Because they've been putting out a bunch of spin-off stuff without it. But, yeah.
Maybe they just like it.
Yeah, or maybe it's like another, like, you know, it's an idea that is like, okay, most of the staff's on board. Let's see if the public has any interest in this. You know. All right. Well, anyways, folks, we got some letters. If you want to send them, you can send them over to castlesuperbeastmail@gmail.com.
Wooly, I have a dramatic ask of you.
Yeah.
Can you give me a good email?
Oh. Shit.
Oh, man.
Oh, boy. Oh, God, the pressure's on now.
Oh.
Oh, no. Okay.
Oh, man.
All right. Let's try this one. Sometimes it's not a question, it's just information. So,
okay, let's hit it.
Dear Wooly the Higher and Pat Shorts as for what happens to Bulbasaur in that snowfield, in last week's discussion on Pokeballs, including what happens to Bulbasaur, it really gripped my attention. As a dumb Pokemon lore fan, I did some research and found a few examples of Pokemon basically cheating death in their Pokeballs, mostly from the anime. James found a Pokemon he had as a child that had been hidden away in its Pokeball, presumably untouched since he returned to it as an adult. There have been a few instances of Pokemon lasting at least 1,000 years inside of ancient Pokeballs, although they were also giant, powerful versions of the regular Pokemon. A Ninetales survived 200 years after its owner died and was unable to leave its home, even if it could come out of its Pokeball. And finally, a Sandshrew survived several days in its Pokeball, submerged underwater in an underwater town.
So what you're saying is that Pokeballs function upon the stand rules of Mr. President?
Whatever the person writing the episode wants the rules to be.
That's right.
That's how it is.
That works. I'm good with that.
Also, think about the horror of a boat sinking and a Pokeball falling to the bottom of the ocean and the Pokemon being in there trapped, but still alive.
And then some dumbasses come and open it and it's Dio.
Fuck you, Dio. Also, if you're weak to water, then if you're like a Ponyta or a Charmander and you're stuck in a Pokeball at the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah, just don't be near water ever.
Well, now you're just doomed to fucking like the Ninja Scroll guy's fate. You know?
That's a rough one.
It's real bad. Thank you for the information there.
Thank you. I have really learned more about Pokemon and now respect it even less.
We got one coming in from Jin Roshi, who says they're William Zappelli and Cesar Patonio Zappelli. As you mentioned, Stone Ocean, released on Netflix as a 12-episode batch in December, only started airing in Japan at the beginning of January. How much do you think this release?
Fucking nuts.
How much do you think this release approach hurt the popularity or longevity of this animated part? Personally, I'm seeing no one talk about it anymore compared to every week during Golden Wind. And while I've had a bunch of friends say they've fallen off a little because the release schedule is ass. Thanks for answering. I think that to some degree the hype comes and goes because it's the batch drop, everyone binges, and then you stop talking about it. But the hype train slowing down doesn't mean it's any less successful of a part. It just means you have to wait longer for the next to drop, and once it does, it'll be very exciting.
All the memes are front loaded.
Yeah. So I think for the funnest community experience, it would have been a couple episodes every few weeks, you know? It would have been fun to have like a monthly drop of 2 episodes or something like that, or 3, you know, instead of getting everything super front loaded as we did. But I don't think that affects the hype or the quality of the show itself. People will get excited when the next parts drop, and then when the next one's done, and when it wraps up, it'll be very exciting, you know. It's almost like they're dropping movies for this season every now and then instead of week to week. But yeah, ultimately could have been better for the feel, but not a huge deal. We got one over here from Andrew who says, "Dear CSB crew, my name's Andrew, writing to you from New Brunswick. With the recent acquisition of Activision Blizzard and all that entails, a lot of gaming outlets have brought up the idea that Game Pass potentially could be making its way to PlayStation. An idea that seems more and more feasible is with each major acquisition Microsoft makes. Let's say this does end up happening somewhere down the road. If you could play all of Sony's or Xbox's first-party games on PlayStation, then what would be the point of owning an Xbox console? Do you think this is how Xbox could leave the console market? Seeing as they don't profit from it anyways, pushing that responsibility onto Sony would only free up more money for actual game development, which in turn leads to better games, making Game Pass more appealing, all while Sony has bit the bullet and is forced to make consoles at a loss. What do you think?"
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Not at all. I think that the Game Pass is going to continue to evolve, and there will be a Netflix for video game service that ultimately becomes the main thing. We are going in that direction, but the idea that one of these two pulls out entirely from hardware is we are far, far from that. I think if anything, they use their passes as a major incentive for you to buy that hardware if each hardware purchase comes with a year of whatever service included or something like that. But we are going towards a like Netflix for game style Game Pass setup, where you're going to be paying on a monthly basis. Well, you already do for multiplayer, except now it'll be more money, and it'll extend into like essentially game rental as well.
Yo, this shit sucks.
Yeah, PlayStation Plus is already pretty much doing that. You know, Game Pass is already kind of doing it. Nintendo Online thinks it's doing it. But it absolutely is going to happen. They think a lot of things. It is absolutely going in that direction. But it's going to be going in that direction with you still buying hardware. Yeah. There was a time, perhaps in between the original Xbox and the 360 launch, where the companies could have talked about going the route of the VCR and having a universalized console. But that time has long passed.
Long past.
We're gone through that. We're gone past that now. If anything, what you're going to see is consoles cozying themselves up to be more like PCs. And if anything, they might want to kind of replace that. You know, you might even see something that's like, hey, we can run Steam, by the way. You know, we might be a few generations from a console that's like, yeah, you can install Steam. There's a platform. There's a hard drive here. You can run that. You know?
Yeah. All right.
That'll do.
All right. That'll do. And so I have a quote from a good friend of the podcast to end us out on today.
Okay.
From at Final Level, one Mr. Ice-T tweeted earlier, "Did anyone understand that last Matrix movie? What the fuck?" Thanks, Ice-T.
Thanks, Ice-T.